No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it now, just you and me. Wake up all the doctors, make the old people well. They're the ones who suffer and who catch all the hair. But they don't have so very long before their judgment day. So won't you make them happy before they pass away? Wake up all the builders, time to build a new land. I know we could do it if we all lend a hand. Only thing we have to do is put it in our minds. Surely things will work out, they do it every time. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na, 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it now, just you and me. Yeah. Change it, yeah, just you and me. Change it, yeah, change it. Can't do it alone, do it alone. Need some help, y'all. Can't do it alone, can't do it alone. Yeah, yeah. Wake up, everybody. Wake up, everybody. Need a little help, y'all. Yes, I do. Need a little help. Say it, boy. Need some help, y'all. Change the world, what it used to be. Do it alone. Need some help, that. Need some help, that. Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up. Come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Stop, sing. Wake up, yeah. Wake up, yeah. Wake up, yeah. Wake up, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It don't matter. Yeah, yeah. What race, creed, or color. Everybody, we need each other. Wake up, everybody. Well, see, we need, wake up, everybody. We need, wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking. Time for thinking ahead. All the teachers start to teach a new way. They're the ones that suffer each and every day. Teach the children, teach the baby, teach the babies, teach the children, teach the children, teach the baby. Wake up, everybody, no more sleeping in bed. No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war and poverty. Wake up, all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na, 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 na.
In the morning, love, and the sunlight hurts my eyes, and something without warning, love, bears heavy on my mind. Then I look at you, and the world's all right with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me seems impossible to face, when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you, and the world's all right with me. Just one look at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. When the day that lies ahead of me impossible affair. And when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way, then I look at you and the world's alright with me. I just one look at you and I know it's gonna be a lovely
wake up.
asked me what's my name, I tell her I am Connie. And I said, girl, tell me what's your name. And she tell me that her name is Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Ooh, Lord, smile for me, Jamaica. Whenever you cry, here am I. Yeah, I'm here for you, Jamaica. Dry your eyes, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. Lord, hey, she have a rich history. A beautiful woman with the sweetest gifts. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss of a nice sunset on the evening season. But she tell me, say she tired. Tired of the exploit and the liars. She give them reggae, give them beaches, give them flowers and the ferns. All she got is abuse in return. But I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Hey, Chronix is here to your help, mama. Ooh, I said, no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do for me. And I say, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Hey, smile for me, Jamaica. Whenever you cry, here am I. Girl, I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Oh my. Oh, that she asked me. And this I want me say. Sweet, sweet Chronix, you figure them, give them. The one drop beat pan a rhythm. How you give them bob with a different step in. How you give them bolt, nobody can run left in. Boy, but see ya, they must see you say you're out of ideas. You give them art and sweet literature. You gonna make the world see the better picture. I said no worry yourself, mama. Chronix is here to your help, mama. Hey, I said no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me I beg you do for me. And I said smile, yeah, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. Whenever you cry, here am I. Whoa, care for me, Jamaica. And I said smile.
That makes broken wings fly. a better choice in all your electrical supplies. A, authorized 3M dealer and better brand names. B, better service including free island-wide delivery. C, all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales. Shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-3825-8 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice.
Easy! Let not your hearts be troubled. Just believe in God Almighty and daily renew the mind. As we live in this time when fake is more valued than real, and lies prefer the truth, the unnatural put above the natural. This is Lady Donna, aka Double D Don, with a new song, Almighty Jah, encouraging your people to keep the faith that God will make a way. Get your copy today. It's on all digital platforms. Lady Donna Official on Instagram, Facebook, AsujaRecords.com. For bookings, Asuja Record label at Gmail. Almighty Jah!
Oh my Lord, nice to see you. I say you come over and you bring 5 brothers from my daughter. I to pick from. My daughter says she don't like none of the above. You bring power, you bring rage, you bring cool, you bring hot and high Ray. First thing she say, Ray, he high. I don't like nobody in my family, my Lord. I don't like power. Power look like a politician, and I don't like cool. I see cool looking and hot, like two of them got something going on. Put them on the other side of the room. My Lord, I will wait. I want the best for my daughter. I wait on the best, because best is always best to me.
Best 100.5 FM brings you youth empowerment and resilience, a 30-minute program with Royton McLaren every Monday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. Your Monday nights will not be the same again. Managing stress, trauma? Let's talk on youth empowerment and resilience with Royton McLaren on Best 100.5 FM every Monday from 7:30 to 8 p.m.
Bess 100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
Today's best musics. The best mix of your light run favorites is on Bess FM.
I was born strong. I was made for this. See, I met so many hard times when I thought I couldn't make it. See,
Good morning. Welcome again. It is always such a delight to be at the Ligani Club, to be outdoors. Well, it was bright and very kind of energetic a few minutes ago.
Yes,
Now it's a little overcast, and I can feel a light breeze, but nevertheless the fresh air and the beautiful greenery that surrounds us delights my own spirit. It's Thursday morning, which for us is the last day of our broadcast week, and so we usually take our time on Thursdays to go through the events that have kept us busy from Monday to, and of course this is the morning free-flowing Thursdays when we have a guest in the house to spend some time and take us through one or two issues. We are expecting to have our JPS segment, and Miss Callum should have been here with us last week, was unavoidably detained, and this morning we're hoping she will make good. It was her birthday on Sunday, Pastor Percival, and she's celebrating all month. I promised her that she would be serenaded this morning. Well, if she doesn't come, we'll know why. I promised her that Pastor would do.
I gave I know she had it 30 from me. Hello.
On air. Did you do it on air?
No, I gave it, sent it in a message to her.
Oh, you sang? You sent her a...
Yes,
oh,
ma'am.
so we're not going to see her for sure.
Oh.
I was hoping you would. I figure if you're doing it live, she wouldn't bolt from the table.
Oh, she will run from the table. Boy, me I tell you, you know, Mr. Producer, you know the term preke?
They take you back preke.
Yeah.
You are not a preke. You're an established singer of Happy Birthday, Miss Lou style. But you did Happy Birthday. That's the one you did?
Happy birthday.
See?
Happy birthday to you,
there with some happy birthday. So we're just saying belated birthday greetings to our friend Winsome Callum, one of the shining stars in the JPS crown. JPS crown is under a little bit of pressure, you know.
Boy, I tell you.
There's an issue that you and I will parse through it a little later. But that fire at Kemlani Mart yesterday, the headline is that JPS is probing fire claims at Kemlani Mart. Mr. Steve Kemlani having reported that a pole broke and crashed into the building, sparking the fire. He said at least 2 transformers fell on top of the building. One fell right on top of the building and started the fire, and there is a generator at the back that is full of gas that would have assisted with the fire, Kemlani told the Gleaner.
Wow.
So I don't want to start our morning discussion. There's an issue that we do need to talk through, and in the week to come, God willing, we can get some views on it, because the lines for civil liability seem to be changing, as it must. Usually the push comes from what's happening in the population, and then you see the courts begin to follow, and then sometimes legislation, depending on, what needs to be done.
Okay.
But there are some issues on the horizon that I want us to talk through today concerning the liability which private entities that operate in public utilities space, and even public entities that operate in the same space, what is the liability that they ought reasonably to have towards their customers or citizens with whom they engage, do business, provide services in the event of loss or harm. I think under the colonial system of administration of justice, the parameters for civil liability were very spare and draconian against the citizen.
Seriously?
Yes. Things like the limitation of actions, meaning within what time can you make a complaint against the Crown. Whenever you hear someone say it's statute barred, it means that you had the opportunity to take action up to a time, and when that time runs, you no longer have that cause of action. You're still hurt, you still haven't been compensated for your loss, but the time has run out for you to take an action.
Okay.
Limitation of liability.
Oh, so that I know that continues to happen here in our country. Because,
yes.
Because you have certain things that after 7 years, I think it run out.
Yes, but in relation to the crown, it can run out earlier.
Okay.
Like if a policeman injured you or you got in an accident with some, state vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that you had to file that action within 1 year.
And if you miss it, then you're dead.
Whereas if it's between me and you, you had the 7 years.
Okay.
6 or 7.
Wow. That's interesting.
But if it were against the crown, you had to move quickly. That was recently, not so recently, but that was changed to 3 years for some things.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've been pushing in the right direction, but we still have some areas that, you can't sue for coverage unless it happened in a specific way, or so there are some limitations on liability. And we see a need to push the barrier a little further. So I want to discuss that. It's one of the vestiges of colonialism. And as we are shaking off these things, we need to shake off all of the ones of them that create a problem for citizens. So later in the show, we're going to talk about that. But that's not something we're going to talk about with Miss Winsome. We're just hoping that we can return to our usual segment with her, and of course wish her belated birthday greetings. Not very belated, because the celebrations are for the entire month of September.
Oh, it's a whole month celebration.
Yeah, man, I agree with her.
People tell me them celebrate for the year, so they take gifts all year.
They take gifts. They don't host parties.
They don't host parties. They just be taking gifts all year when it's their birthday, and that makes sense too. Can understand that.
And then there's an issue which you and I started. We closed the show with it yesterday, and we're going to return to it somewhat today.
King is dead, long
the king is dead, long live the king. Or really, can you rule from beyond the grave? Insist that the allegiance I pledged to you during your lifetime continues to be binding against us for your son. I say no. I'd be interested to hear what other people are thinking. Do they think that because the queen is dead and her son has stepped onto the throne, Jamaica should just follow back at him? And of course, it means also getting some real information on what exactly is happening in Parliament and in King's House at this time. Are they already lining up and kissing the ring, or breaking the rod, or whatever it is?
King's House. Why was it never named
Queen's House?
Yes. Because she has lived so long.
They didn't think she'd live so long. Every time they said, we need to change it. It's about she might not last.
Wow.
Women. And then she lived for 70 years and everybody stopped talking about it. Well, now it's King's House again.
Yeah, it has returned to King.
Returned as a king. Yep, so we have that to talk about. We're also going to look at Jamaica's standing in the region as it relates to cost of living. Surveys have shown that Jamaica has one of the highest cost of living among the Latin America and Caribbean region. What's the cause of that? What are we doing or not doing? I shall invite you into a discussion on that, sir. Specifically, the report looked at what the central banks were doing.
Okay.
So that will be the focus. And then the only other issue with which we will provoke our listeners has to do again with the cost of energy. What is happening on the world stage? How are governments treating what is clearly a crisis, only getting bigger and bigger in relation to the cost of energy? And what strategies can we employ here? That's one of the things that we would have looked at with Winsome, and I'm hoping that we'll have an opportunity to really dive into that.
It's an important issue because you need to manage your personal consumption, but you also need to be concerned and aware of how it affects national activities, how it affects productivity, how it affects transportation, how it affects the cost of manufacturing and so on and so forth, how it affects Jamaica's external debt, because you're buying your main source of energy in hard currency, which you don't earn or generate. You can't control the cost of energy, basically, if you're so dependent on external purchases. So there's a need to look at it. I see what some countries are doing. Jamaica needs to have a sober conversation about it. And, I am going to have a guest address that for us in the coming days, I would say, because it is time for this. If we can't unite on the solution to crime and violence, we have to unite on the solution to the cost of energy, because this here will bring the country to its knees.
And it happened in the 70s already.
Yeah. And what happened in the 70s will look tame in comparison to where we're heading with this one, I think. Those are the things, Pastor Percival. How could I leave out this one? And I was already drawing you out on this one. There was a report on that the mayor of Lucy had issued a call for the National Works Agency to withdraw from the parish affairs.
All parish affairs?
No, Lucy, the mayor can only ask for a withdrawal from his affairs, his parish affairs.
No, I'm just thinking.
But I want you and I to talk about the role of the National Works Agency and how their performance could be improved. That's what I'd like,
Yeah, because
you and me to talk about.
It was an executive agency created in 2001 that took over some of what the Ministry of Transport and Works did, and an amalgamation. Remember Public Works?
Oh yes. When you say PWD, I remember some dumper trucks, some yellow trucks.
Yeah, it never changed much, but it is what it is today.
So there, you were referencing this trend, and I believe it came out of the IMF adventures when we were under pressure to reduce public spending, and a couple of initiatives were embraced. One was the divestment of certain national assets which were sitting on the books, fueling expenditure but not generating revenue. And the second was to hive off some of the departments, make them into cost centers, and call them agencies.
Public just funded the Jamaica Public Sector Modernization Program. And this was a thing between GOJ, World Bank, British Department for International Development, and European Union.
The British were in it too?
Yes, ma'am.
You're looking at the NWA website.
Yeah, it's in, yeah.
What year? When was that taking place?
1999. Created the public sector modernization focus on creating executive agencies that represented a new organization format in the Jamaica public sector and making core ministries more policy driven. The Works Age division of the Ministry of Transport and Works was one of the entities examined as part of the PSM cluster groups, and in October 1999, Jamaican government endorsed the establishment of the National Works Agency and accorded it executive agency status on April 1, 2001.
So, one of the things we're not good at doing, we're not good at conducting the kind of strategic reviews against objectives, to see whether or not a thing is doing what it is supposed to do. And I suspect that change in status had more meaning in the finance department of government than it did anywhere else. Certainly amongst the population, civil society, may not have been tracking it against certain established metrics so that we could be assured that it was delivering the value that was intended. When I see a mayor asking for the NAA to withdraw from its affairs as regards, I'm going to find the story so we can, I had it tagged as one of the things to discuss with you, but I really do want citizens to become more knowledgeable about how they can influence
public policy.
Absolutely. And what's happening in your community. And, you know, so many times you see people protesting and asking for justice, but they're really just looking into the camera and asking for justice. They don't have a clear idea of who is accountable to them for specific things. And I would like us on this program to be among the voices that guide and inform persons on who's the culprit in the situation you're facing.
So the chief objectives of the NAA were the promotion of improved maintenance of the main road network by use of modern management practices and cost-effective techniques, and 2, the commercialization of the technical services of the Ministry of Transport and Works. So that is why you see the major roadworks, and interestingly, they are only responsible for ABC roads, which forms about 19% of the road network, because the rest of our road network is controlled by parish council, farm roads, and community roads. And it was interesting in terms of what I was wondering why I would say that. I didn't say come out, because it, based on what that says, it means that NAA would have just small responsibility for most.
But what do they mean by responsibility? Meaning, what do they mean by responsibility? Does it say? What do they do for those roads? Because what do they do? Is it clear what responsibility means?
Yeah. So
they maintain it. That's it.
Maintenance and development, optimization,
okay,
safety management, flood seam damage control, efficiency and effectiveness. Those were the
that's what's meant by responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. And just what are the what's it, A, B, and C roads? Give examples.
Like a road would be like Mandela Highway. A B road, I'm assuming, if you use Mandela.
Oh, I thought they had a map. You were looking at the.
There were maps there, but.
Oh, you're gone. Leave it.
Yeah, there. Yeah, but what it is that the A roads, the B, and the C roads. So, the A roads are the main roads, like Howard Cook. If you're in Montego Bay, Howard Cook Highway would be a A road. And I think the roads that come off it directly would be B roads and then the C roads.
But what we need to be clear on is that the roads in that classification account for less than 20%
of the total
roads in yes. So all the talk we're hearing from NAA, everything that they cost us, all the idea we have that NAA is responsible for the network of roads, they are only responsible for less than 20%. So 80% of the roads in Jamaica, are they responsible for all the bridges? Because the little bridge
736 bridges on its main road network. So probably that bridge.
So the bridge in Troy.
Yeah, is it
yes.
one of those bridges? Yeah. Is it a bridge that should have been taken care of through parish council funding? Because I don't know if that is Troy. We could Google it, if Troy is that Troy road is a B, or C road.
Well, what is what's frightening to me, and I would need to get the map and see what is it that falls in their remit, because I would have assumed that for a rural community, any road that is the main road should be part of NAA's remit. That's it. I think main road must have the ordinary meaning of being the main thoroughfare for citizens in an area. So it's a little mind-boggling to me that for the whole of Jamaica, the main roads are only 20% of the road network, because it sounds now like NAA would only be responsible for the highways, and that most of the little rural towns that I would even call them towns, the communities that are in that like spider web of country areas are not under their watch. That's how it sounds to me. When as a child, Parochial Road was the little service road that go off into the cane field. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's only being used by the people who are working on the farms and so on and so forth. It's like a private road.
True. Coming up.
So yeah, I want to see. We're gonna find the map, and wherever you are, we're gonna call out some names of roads that are not under the supervision of NAA. NAA is one of our largest agencies, commanding a significant portion of our budget. I mean, you can even look and see how much falls under the watch of the NAA, and yet they are only responsible for 20% of our roadways. So we're definitely gonna delve into why it is that a mayor would call for the NAA to withdraw. This is a report. This is a report from Saturday, September 10th, and here's what the mayor had to say, citing what he deemed to be the poor performance of the National Works Agency in Hanover. Lucy Mayor Sheridan Samuels on Thursday said that he wants the state agency to be kicked out of the parish and its roles and responsibilities and resources turned over to the municipal corporation. Samuels made the call during the monthly meeting of the municipal corporation, where councillors complained about the ineffectiveness of NAA in addressing the poor state of roads in the parish. And the mayor said, my suggestion is to get rid of the NAA completely out of Hanover, phase them out, and we take over their responsibilities and their duties, because we have been doing it out by Riley River and in other places within the parish, says the mayor. We're going to come back to that, because is this a direction that other municipalities should be pursuing? We'll be right back.
Bess FM 100.5 on your dial. Keep listening.
It is the education system that will determine the future of the country in which you live. A direct quote there from Prime Minister Andrew Holness, who has reaffirmed the government's commitment to transform teaching and learning in Jamaica. At a recently held education town hall, he gave an update on the administration's plan for the sector, centered on making education accessible to all. Take a listen.
Education is the long-term solution to all our economic and social problems, including crime and violence, economic growth, social order, improved health choices, and reproductive choices. It's the education system. What are we teaching our children? And how well are they learning? What is the competence having learned the material? So the question is our education system producing the quality resources that we need? The answer is, it is producing it, but it is not universal. And that leads to another problem: inequity and inequality in the society. So the objective of the transformation is to keep the schools that are doing well, please do even better. But we have to focus on those sectors of the education system that are not doing well and lift up their standards, lift up their accountability, and improve their output. Because if you want to remove inequality and the inequities of the Jamaican society, then start with equalizing educational opportunities. Not by tearing down those who are doing well, but by pulling up those who are not doing well. In the national conversation, I want the country to appreciate and understand that the government is serious about transformation. We already acknowledge it will be a fight. The changes will hold people to account who are not putting out the full effort. So there will be resistance, there will be fights. But we are committed to doing it. We have been trying to do this since 2004. I want to touch very quickly on fees. I know that there are many schools who are complying with the government's no tuition policy. And I know that there are students who are going back to school with no challenge. But there are some schools who are charging students, parents, exorbitant fees which are exclusionary. Every school in Jamaica, those that are government schools and those that are funded by the government, forms part of the country's public education offering. And public education up to high school, as declared by government policy, is tuition free. No student must be denied access to a classroom and to the teacher that we pay for and to the books that we give them and to the school infrastructure that we fund because they are unable to meet the other costs of the school. If we are truly serious about creating this equal society, then how can we punish a child who, by virtue of their household income, is unable to meet the school fee of the school in which the state places them? It so happens that there is such a high correlation between performance and household income. But if we are to break that, then we need to ensure that all our children have access to a high quality education. And those who come from poor households, who have incomes in the lower quintiles, that they should be able to go to school without feeling discriminated against by virtue of their ability or inability to pay.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness speaking at the Office of the Prime Minister's Town Hall on Education, held under the theme, Time for Action. Catch the full presentation on the Jamaica Information Service YouTube channel.
A production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
Bess FM-100 on your dial. Keep listening.
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us, Minett and Percy, on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Bess100 FM.
Bess100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
With all the best music from yesterday and today. All genre radio.
We're excited to meet you.
This is the land of
One civilization is not complete without its art, the highest form of expression of human intelligence. You have become complacent, sitting down and allowing the other nations to run away with everything. You have become a bunch of consumers. You are creators. Rise up, mighty people, accomplish what you will. Without confidence, you're twice defeated in the race of life.
Let's look away the voices that gave the people bright. Now we're plunging into darkness. We all have to play our part, make a bold start. Every distract and every artist. Media houses, we notice, you'll have support the slackness.
All right. Okay, so, good morning to you. It's Mr. Henry who asked, Delroy says, Miss Lawrence, can you say why the Ligani Club is such a challenging broadcast location? But guess what? The Ligani Club is 110 or something more years old, and it is one of the most enduring bastions of colonial entitlement. And in its history, women and black people in particular could not even be here. So I suspect there are some old ancestral echoes from the colonial masters that every time they see us sitting here, and it's why we persist, because we're breaking that yoke. Bear with us. We're powering through, and I think sometimes if there is, what they say, a slip between the cup and the lip, we'll find our place back to you. But we've been talking about the National Works Agency, and the mayor of Lucy called for them to step out. Pastor has shared the information that NWA is responsible for really what amounts to less than 20% of the road network. These are all the main roads. Yes. So 80% of our roads are the responsibility of the various local government, parish councils, and so on. The parish council is not doing too bad, because most of the protests that we see, in fact, I would say all of them, are about the main roads.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. People are prepared to struggle a bit with the subsidiary roads that they traverse to go about their business, but the real problems arise on the main roads. What we saw in St. Thomas last week, what we're seeing, it's all about the main roads. So if the NWA is unable to satisfy the reasonable expectations of citizens with regard to the main roads, I can understand a mayor saying, step out of it. Now, you said to me, you made a feeding tree comment. You got to explain the feeding tree comment. Just repeat it.
What is a feeding tree? A place where people go to feed.
We're birds.
Yes. I'm just saying that a lot of the corruption and thing that happens in terms of our politics in Jamaica happens through what happens in road works, like major infrastructure work, in terms of the kickbacks that are made. That's where it happens, whether we like it or not. It's just
right. But what I was seeking to understand from you is whether are you saying that activity is just gonna move down to the local government?
Yeah, if you not change how we do business,
right? And
you were saying it better the local.
And I was saying it better the local people in the area eat from the feeding tree. Then it stays up in the higher echelons. Nobody is happy. And now, if in reality, this is what it would say now. If in reality local government institutions across the country are responsible for 80% of our roadway, and the area that we're feeling the greatest pain is in the less than 20% that NWA controls, then the man is right, the mayor is right. NAA should step away from it and let the local governments do the work that they need to.
You're by no means saying that you are supporting
the mayor.
Corruption.
No, not corruption. We're talking about effectiveness.
Okay.
The mayor is saying. The mayor is saying.
Effective and efficient, but let there not be any kickbacks on things.
Right. No, I mean, and one of the things that we should not do, we should not make decisions based primarily on the risk of corruption, unless you're in a prison where. Unless corruption is the business you're administering.
Oh my Lord.
Do you understand what I'm saying? A lot of times we do that. We say, no, we're not setting it up that we become man going tea from it. And we create an elaborate edifice which man tea from anyway, and it's inefficient and costly. That's
an important point. I always, in my travels, wondered why is it in some countries they just go through custom, just breeze through custom, and in other countries
they must search you from morning till night, and I dig up everything.
I think the person did a cost benefit analysis.
Of course,
said, when we put in this system, it's gonna cost us so much more to maintain it. Let us assume that persons on a whole are honest. So the few that we catch by putting this elaborate system is not worth it. So might as well. Yeah, I think that's what some countries do. What do you think?
And they're absolutely right to do it. I've sat in another place where I said to the people, you're dealing with human beings, therefore, let us assume that 5% is going to go into pilferage. Live with it. Do not spend 10% of your earnings trying to prevent people from stealing 5%.
Okay. That's what,
because now you have lost 15%. Because they are going to take, even between just people making mistakes, you're going to suffer loss through some areas that you will not be able to cauterize. And then I get biblical on you. Do you remember Ruth, the story of Ruth and Naomi? And what the man Boaz, what he did, and the principle, it is a biblical principle that you don't clean up every last nut. You leave something for the poor man who's going to walk by, feel hungry and want something.
And it's a biblical principle that it's set up in Deuteronomy
and
those places.
Yes.
It's amazing in terms of the law, the principles that are put in the Torah, which is the Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy books, in terms of how they order the society and the people live that.
So persons could survive with dignity.
Yeah.
Because if you have to go into a field and glean after the farmers have gone through and harvested, it's working to collect what you're going to eat. Sure, it's not your field. Sure, you didn't plant it. But it was understood in the society that you must not scrape everything up and leave nothing for the poor. That is why when you have things like somebody going to reap akis from a tree on the king's house land and is brought before the court, or you have a man picking oranges from an orange orchard where he's looking at hundreds of orange trees, and he picks a bag of oranges, maybe to sell for his family, maybe so he can have a snack, I don't know, but well, a bag would be more than a snack. But when you shoot, I had one of those cases, and I saw one of those cases where the ranger on an orange orchard shot a man who was in a tree picking oranges.
Instead of telling a man to come out and come out. Come out of the tree.
Yes.
Come down and
come down. Yes. Those are things.
From rangers when I was a little boy.
Are you kidding? How did a ranger?
Because
it weird. What?
In some cities.
Yeah, but what crop?
Sugar cane.
Are you serious?
Yes, man. We never not supposed to go there. And as boys in the summer, we go in at the field and we just eat 2K and your ranger come.
You are kidding.
Hello.
All the time I hear the producer tell me about when the band of boys were tired and wanted some sugar, and they go in the cane and sit down. I never know that it was a risky thing.
Yes, man.
Jesus, my God. Your mother could have hear say, come pick up your son.
Yes.
How people love shoot people over. Perennial larceny.
No, we make fun of it, but what has happened with period larceny, it has become a criminal enterprise in Jamaica. We say it because I remember as a youngster, there's this gentleman. He had his drone and his yams, and he said, "Okay, Junior, that's my pet name." He take me to.
My husband and my pastor are junior larcenists. Former.
And what?
Mercy and Lowell are former larcenists.
So we'd go.
Sugar larcenists.
And we'd go, and he was. It's like somebody waited, watched the crop, and he went to reap his yams. And when he go, we walk, and somebody had gone ahead of him and reap every single yam hill. And it is a problem which is major because you see. Yesterday in the paper where Juicy Beef was making at the full page at saying that in terms of the stolen cows.
They never get any yet.
No, to say it probably was there, but they buy from everybody. But it is a major problem.
Yeah.
And that's a different
so
public,
right, I was gonna say,
yeah,
man, I was gonna say a band of boys eating sugarcane, but it's when you, as you say, tie it up and carry it off to go sell it.
It is organized.
Yeah.
It is a serious.
I mean, you can't eat so much cane and
right.
Yeah, that is it. But when your
belly full of cane juice.
When you watch somebody work hard, plant, ready to harvest, and somebody comes in, even though they are going into farms with guns. Yeah, with guns.
We have drifted into a very dark place because the summer fun of young boys playing cricket or football or going to the river and wanting to just sit in the cane field and munch on some sugar cane. And really, boys, were there any girls in your bands of?
No, we don't really know.
The first thing is the band on the sugarcane. It itches and it is its own defense to me. I don't know why we would reap sugarcane with anything other than a machine.
Okay.
Sugarcane and corn. If you ever have to deal with the bands, it's serrated at the edge. Who knows it? And it when it rubs against your skin, it cuts it and it itches.
You ever see the guys who usually cut cane? How them?
I see my niece looking up like she never experienced it.
No man,
the corn band and the sugar cane. It's hostile.
The cane cutters would have on 3 layers.
Yeah. So for you to go in there and to be doing anything other than just having a snack. Or
it's premeditated.
It has to be right, but still we're saying, and let's just track how things fall into the decline we are currently experiencing. We start from an Old Testament principle of always remember the poor. Do not clean your field so thoroughly that you have left nothing for the birds or the poor. That's the principle, That principle has at its core a recognition that persons in need should at least be left a dignified way of survival. If you strip away everything from a person over time, you are creating one who is devoid of compassion or respect for ownership. If when you own things, you are so predatory, so greedy, so grasping in your ownership and your management of it that you don't consider that someone else might need to survive, you are moving yourself steadily away from the equity and justice of the, let's call it, the Old Testament utopian society. Because I don't think they ever attained it either,
They never did.
That is why it ended up with a man on a cross. But you're moving yourself steadily away from that place to where we are today, where a man can plant his field, invest in it. And believe me, farmers, I'm a farmer's daughter and I have a farmer's heart. Farmers don't just care for the soil because it's going to produce food to eat. We love it. We feel the dirt. We touch it. When we look at the plants, we talk to them. We lecture. We scold. We encourage. When it comes in, even though you're going to eat it, it is still connected to you. And when somebody walk out on their field and see it devastated and robbed, and it's a violation that is equal to the violation you feel if somebody touch your person.
Yeah, it's true. All right. It's so true.
I've seen the producer fire somebody for cutting down the... Did you fire him? I'm trying to remember. You remember we went home one day and somebody had lopped off under the guise of trimming the plants?
Just chop off everything.
Just chop down. I said, then we spring back.
Of course. That's not the easiest thing for do, man.
Me said the thing, when you look at it, it's as if somebody take your picnic and shave off your head. Just leave him there.
Okay, so let's just quickly go.
We're going back to the roads. You found it now?
Yeah, right. So in Hanover.
Boy, I don't know why I thought you were trying to find Stock Farm Road.
Yeah,
but
I guess we'll find it, but but based on projects that are
underway.
General road repairs and maintenance, almost all the roads, all the roads in
Hanover.
Our
main roads?
It's NWA is happy with NWA.
So that's why they have such a
see there, it looks like all the roads, road rehabilitation, White Chop to Dykes Hill, NWA, Alberton to Troy, patching, NWA.
But that's Clarendon you just looked at there.
No man, it's Hanover. It's Clarendon.
No, you read White Shop to Dykes Hill.
Alberton to Troy, Cash Hill to Dundee, Chelsea Bridge to Cocoon, road rehabilitation.
And so many of them are pending.
20%.
Oh,
that's why the man becomes.
That's why he's frustrated. Yes.
20%, lots of patching, but it's only 20% happening, and I'm saying, come on.
But I've long been reflecting on our local government arrangements and saying.
Look at this. Hanover Lead, road rehabilitation, Parish Council Road,
100%. Aha! You see, you're bringing out some statistics there.
Yes.
Because when the parish council is handling it, whether it's because it's local feeding tree or not, they get the job done. Yeah. It looks like if you were to go by just that what you're reading from.
Side. So I can understand why the man is so frustrated.
So we've been talking about the Republic and how we would rearrange affairs so that people in their communities would have more authority, more say, more involvement in what happens to the infrastructure and the administration of public resources. This is that's the issue we're discussing now,
That's the real issue, actually.
Because if members of parliament or local political representatives not only had the responsibility to go out and get votes, but to plan for the execution of the projects that will build life for their constituents, you would see greater people involvement, greater accountability. That's what we're looking for. So I applaud the mayor for speaking as he did. It's a suggestion that I think other mayors should begin to look at. Just look at the level of effectiveness in what you are doing versus what NWA imposed on you by central government is doing. We really need to rework that arrangement. That's where I see it going.
Yeah, but I think when they made it a executive agency, they were saying in terms of the technical skills that would become available. But you wonder about that because I recently encountered somebody from my past, and I said, "What are you doing, my brother?" And he said, "I mean, a road works now." I said, "Road works. We are doing a road works." And the simple truth was, this was somebody who is trained as an accountant. He sets up a company that does road works. I said, "We know about fixing a road." And that can explain to me why you can fix road and rainfall. And you have everybody. It can become a big feeding tree, unfortunately.
Do you know, a few years ago when we were working on a logistics hub project in Jamaica, we got a deep understanding of how some of the companies, the big construction companies in China, work. And it was interesting to see that these companies would go around the world contracting business as well. We'll talk about it a little bit more when we come back, because if we have a super agency with excellence in construction, road construction, maybe they should be building roads all over the Caribbean and earning foreign exchange for us instead of frustrating the local government organizations at the parish.
Companies have gone overseas.
It's time for the break, and where some people are getting very querulous.
Rules the nation, state to state, country to country.
Bess FM.
We play the hits just for you.
He's coming back.
Yes, indeed, it's redemption time with Apostle Clive Campbell, presenting a life-changing, life-challenging message to encourage, inspire, and motivate you towards your destiny. Every Tuesday night from 9:30 p.m. until 12:30 a.m. and on Saturday from 9 o'clock until 10, right here on Bess100 FM. It's redemption time.
I'm standing firm.
Radio, as you know it,
is extinct. This is a new species of music station. This is the all-new 100. Why change and buy into technology?
Easy. Let not your hearts be troubled. Just believe in God Almighty and daily renew the mind. As we live in this time when fake is more valued than real, lies prefer to truth, the unnatural put above the natural. This is Lady Donna, aka Double D Don, with a new song, Almighty Jah, encouraging your people to keep the faith. God will make a way. Get your copy today. It's on all digital platforms. Lady Donna Official on Instagram, Facebook, AsujaRecords.com for bookings. Asuja Record label at Gmail. Almighty Jah.
This is your beloved Pastor Percy from the Morning Connection. Support our commitment to Jamaica by joining us on Wednesday mornings at 7:30 when we pray for the nation. Show us you care. Advertise with us. For more information, call our offices at 876-276-8935.
Live the life. Respect the music. And keep your radio locked in.
The Bess100 FM.
Back in from the kickback. Welcome back to the Morning Connection.
That is you, Pastor. Who did the kicking back first? The sugarcane larcenous activities. Sound like
you to eat some cane, man. What I'm teaching.
Oh my goodness.
You know, when I reflect on some of the
escapades of the summer.
Yes, man. Playing cricket on the road and hitting the ball over the person's yard and broken a window. And then there was a group of us playing cricket. And when the ball go over to that particular yard, we know say we can't.
That's the end of the game.
That is the end of the game. Worst if it hit a window, we just melt it.
And
a lady comes out and look, not a person.
All right. One of the things I want us to pursue coming up, we're going to look back at this local government structure and how it would change, can change under the arrangements for the Republic. I know you had been making some inquiries about the cost of doing a survey to look at how Jamaicans are feeling about constitutional reform. When we embrace that project solidly, because I know it's one of the things in order to come, on the list of things to come, I do want us to look at what Jamaicans would like to see at work in the local government area of things. How much control do you want to have over the economy and the infrastructure of your communities. So it is economy and infrastructure. Infrastructure broadly, including its school, hospital, just do road, health, education, and security.
I think what a government should be responsible for is security, health, education, and then if those things are working, and justice,
administration of justice, clearly can't be
that,
privatized.
Seem like it privatized now, anyway.
Yes, that is an unfortunate reality. But so to come, we are going to draw you into a discussion on what the arrangements should look like under a republic system of government, Republican system of government, as it relates to arrangements for road, health, education, security in your communities. Right now, we have a system where things are centralized under agencies of government that are controlled by cabinet, and the local government authorities, I don't know what are they, talk shops or?
No, some of them, they do a lot of approvals. I mean, local government, building and enforcement.
Yeah, but in terms of budget, because when it comes down to it, it is the money to do the things. That's the issue.
That's the problem. Yeah.
And when government says we are going to create an agency and give it the responsibility of generating the revenue to fund its affairs, what does that really mean, and how can such revenue be generated? Because if they are restricted to operations within the jurisdiction, all the revenue they plan to generate has to come from you and me.
Which is what happens.
Which is typically what happens. I am touting the Chinese model, I guess the US model too, but
what is that?
Where you develop excellence in an area and you shop for work globally. So I remember we were trying to get a company called Beijing Construction to come to Jamaica to build the logistics hub. And when we reviewed their book of accomplishments, a lot of their work were huge projects done overseas.
Yeah, that's true.
So they were now not just trying to pull money out of the local economy by doing, taxpayer funded work. They were bidding and executing mega projects all over the world, Dubai, India, Africa. Now, it's not to say we're going to go that far, but we're in the Caribbean region, and there's no reason why every member of CARICOM should have a fully kitted out, public works agency with all of the technical skills and resources that you need, when really of a fact, all of us combined might be what? How many people? What's the population of the Caribbean? I should check. Of course, we're excluding Cuba, and if you include Haiti, the numbers are larger. But there's no reason why we couldn't share some of those resources.
That's true.
And that really should be a direction that CARICOM should pursue. Instead of all of us creating the same departments from soup to nuts, why don't we shop amongst ourselves? Jamaica have a big national works agency that have the engineering capability to design and to execute large projects. Subcontract it to another country. Yeah. I'm just saying. That way, of course it can. Guess what is happening? If the public sector were to mimic the private sector, that would have been done long ago, because Lime, Digicel,
across borders,
many of the banks that are international banks have regional businesses where they share certain high value resources. So no one country carries the full cost, and you're able to kind of, you know, get a better return on your expenditure.
Like what has happened at the Eastern Caribbean Central
Yes,
Bank?
and
Something like that?
That's what the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Oh, you mean the OECS operate under one? Yes, yes. It can be larger, can be a bigger. Even when we do things like create a digital currency, there are so many things that we can do through regional cooperation and reduce the cost that individual nations have to expend on maintaining these elaborate structures. I mean, you have a country that have less than 100,000 people. You should be getting a lot of your services from your neighbors.
True. Yeah. And that's what some people do. Even
Well,
Caribbean in terms of the private sector.
That's what I'm saying. The private sector is doing it. So if the public sector were to approach it in that sort of more business-like way and be less rabid about political control and who's going to have this, and we would get more value for the money we're spending. So under the Republic, let's have our minds open to these different kinds of approaches. So I'm going to take that item per se. I know we're going to come back to it because it will feature in our consultations on constitutional reform to come.
Okay. So we're talking about energy.
You ready for that one?
Yeah,
All
because
right.
I'm looking at what's happening internationally. Just looking at trading economics and what they're saying in terms of, well, Europe is in trouble, you know, because of what has happened in
the Russia and Ukraine war.
Down the pipeline that sends in. That I read an article recently were saying a lot of big smelting operations were closing down because of just the fact that they don't have the energy. Those are very highly energy dependent, and they were locking them down. And somebody was raising the idea of, if you lock down those things, you're gonna have a fall in employment. And they were saying, he was putting forward the point that probably what government would have to do, they would have to ask the companies to continue to employ the people. They subsidize it even though they were not producing anything. I found that idea very, very strange. But it says when you close down like big smelter plants, whether it is copper, those things, iron, the cost of getting it back online is so tremendous. It might as you do that because the shocks throughout your economy will be so tremendous. So what's happening with natural gas in Europe? The US natural gas futures fell as of this morning to 5%, whereas
You're whispering, man.
Oh, I thought I'm hearing myself. Well, oh, sorry. Yeah. They were saying that.
No,
I was just.
All right, let me make my point while you try to find yours. It was recently reported that Russia is voicing an objection to the various efforts by governments in Europe to soften the impact of the rising cost of energy on its citizens. And it says, if you do this, I am going to increase the restriction on the supply of fuel. Why is Putin taking that point? It is a point that is relevant in Jamaica as well. And here's the point. Whenever the citizen is, I want to say, whenever you dampen the citizens'
demand,
their participation in the stress that government decisions create. So Putin is anticipating that if the citizens are suffering, they will force their government to either collapse or do what they want, end the war, on the terms that will spare the citizens' life. That's the logic, you know.
That's what he's thinking.
But it is the correct logic. When people go on strike, they don't just go on strike because, especially when they go on strike and put out their placards and so on, they are inviting you to support them. If you are not inconvenienced by their strike to the point where you press for change, you will just look at them and say, oh, no, well, let's strike again, poor thing. Or you find a workaround. That's why strike breakers are offensive to the effort and to the cause. It is necessary that people feel the suffering, because it's when you feel the suffering that it becomes your business.
But and so all right,
so when the government, Putin's logic, and this is the protest he has made. He says, if you keep insulating your citizens from the effect of your political decision or your military decisions, I am going to increase the suffering.
But how long can you sustain this for?
Well, each man have to know how long it can last, because let's put it this way. Winter is coming.
Yes.
Winter is always coming. Or as I heard a pastor say the other day, watchman, what of the night? And the watchman says, morning is coming, but so is the night. It's a cycle.
Right.
So you say, how long can he sustain it? I don't know, but he is betting that if winter comes and your people are cold and I have energy, so it's a matter of, what are you starving me out of? If you're starving me out of water and I'm starving you out of fuel, it depends on how best I am able to cope with the suffering. Now, if you're starving me out of water but rain is coming, I am just measuring my time. How long can I last to the rainfall? If you're starving me out of fuel and winter is coming, it's always a competition between the reserves you have, who's gonna blink first, because it's two. I'm not seeing anything that Europe has which Russia needs. What I'm seeing is Russian troops being exhausted. So Russia can feed them people. They have the fuel, and they're flush with cash. If they have to go do something somewhere else, they can.
Russia can?
Yes, if they have to trade with somewhere, they're part of BRICS. Yeah, so it's not like the only economy is with their neighbors. They can do something else, but they need troops to remain motivated, and so unrest at home is something he has to be watching. At the same breath, Europe is watching how their citizens are faring under the pressure. So they're coming up with creative ideas. Austria says, I will create a price cap. Each person spend an average of 500 euros a month on gas. I'm going to keep it there.
So, all right, because
Russia says, if you do that, I'm going to give you even less fuel.
You're going to say what's going to
because, and the reason I'm likening it, I'm kind of doing the comparison with what's happening in Jamaica, is because when we see taxi drivers protest, when we see people come out on the road against road conditions, if we are not feeling some of their pain,
aware enough,
feeling some of their pain, we are not going to put pressure on the government to address it.
Okay.
So when I look at something like that and I say, well, Russia is not sitting back and saying, okay, you guys go spending your money and do whatever. He's saying, no, if you keep your people in the dark about the true impact of what's going on, I'm going to increase the impact to the point where they can't miss it. Let's see how much money you're going to spend in order to avoid sitting at the table with me and coming to a conclusion that is mutually acceptable. That's the analysis I've made. What do you think?
Well, the one in terms of the connection between the protests and your involvement and how you feel it.
Yeah.
Because when you do that, then you begin to say, I don't want this.
Right.
I'm going to join them.
Yeah. I mean, it really is the cause that until you... it's the sad reality. Until the thing hits at your doorstep, you don't take it seriously.
Yeah, but wow, it's kind of interesting.
Why?
Yeah, because I'm just
you
watching.
you live in that space.
Yeah, I'm just watching what is happening around the world in terms of, especially with the futures. Because I remember the European Union had come up with a plan to say, this is what we're going to do. But then not everybody has bought into that plan because they never got consensus. See there? European natural gas prices rise for the third day.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady, Ursula von der Leyen. Ursula. Said the bloc was discussing energy price cap, but that proposal was ditched for lack of consensus.
Yeah.
Still, measures proposed by the Commission include raising 140 billion euros from energy companies' profit, a mandatory cut on energy use, and measures to alleviate liquidity squeeze.
All right, come on, let's list them. What are the suggestions? Mandatory cut on energy use.
Yes.
Could Jamaica deal with that?
Well,
I'm wondering what suggestions JPS made into cabinet yesterday. Mandatory cut on energy use. What you have to translate that? What that mean?
Conservation. I tell people,
mandatory is the mandatory part we have to look at. It means that you can use power within certain hours of the day,
and then you just have rolling power,
and then you have outages. Yes,
like what happened in DR. People don't even know that.
Yeah, but we were on a conference call last night around 8:30 our time, 3:30, around 3:30, 4 o'clock in South Africa, and they had load shedding at that time.
Rolling power cuts.
I like how you call it, rolling power cuts. But yeah, it sounds nice when they say mandatory cut on energy use. But yes, that is one means. What was the other one?
There must be the tax. Taxing the energy companies' profits to put it back in terms of helping people.
To fund the subsidy?
Yeah.
So subsidies, we just call it that.
Yeah. Those are the two major ones, yeah.
Price caps they threw out.
Yeah, right.
But we understand what price caps are. You create a basket of goods and you put a cap on what it should cost, or you just put a cap on what and then you subsidize the rest. Anything above that is subsidized.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting.
The overall policy they are pursuing, though, is to bring down the cost of energy. The basic premise, I'm just looking at one of the reports on it, bring electricity costs down through a combination of cuts to electricity demand and price limits.
Because even that's something that the new Prime Minister and the King has to deal with in UK, because now
I like how you say our. Our what? What were you going to say?
No, but
our king?
Or the king, whatever.
I'm teasing. I know that you don't own them.
Yeah, so what she has done is to put in an estimated $150 billion package to ease the ongoing cost of living crisis, including capping domestic energy prices for households at $2,500 per month, while limiting them for businesses and so on. So it's interesting how they deal with it, because they are now into autumn, winter, you know.
Yeah. That's why I said to you, winter is coming.
Yes, after Russia's Gazprom reversed its plan to resume the flows through the Northern Stream pipeline and shut it indefinitely, citing maintenance requirements.
Russia is doing a combination of military strategy and trade interventions or restrictions in order to gain an advantage in a war, which some believe that if you keep beating the troops, because wow, if I were a general in that war, I'd be analysis. What is Russia's weak point? Russia's weak point is troops.
Yeah.
To keep sending out men.
Because they never expected Ukraine.
Didn't expect it to last this long, or whatever their expectation was, they did not expect that the men. Do you know, if you look at it, a lot of the military engagements at this level with Russia, it's been the troops that has been their weak point. The troops and the climate, because and ultimately the troops, because to get men to sustain a level of ferocity and commitment, and a lot of them are young boys.
Yeah, that's what
they're not seasoned warriors. In fact, there are no seasoned warriors anywhere.
Yes,
because they haven't really had too many wars for people to get seasoned in them. There are no seasoned warriors anywhere, maybe except in the streets of Jamaica, where boys have had to be seasoned from they were like 6.
Oh boy!
But absent that, Russia's problem would be the troops. How do you keep them motivated, and especially when it's not like they're under the immediate command of generals that they fear. They're out there on pretty much on their own. So that's their weakness. And if you can, pick away at that, so you press that advantage. But on the other side, Russia has control of some critical resources, and that's why they are using that leverage. They say, if you insulate your people from feeling the brunt of this war, I will make it worse. The truth of the matter is they probably could withdraw their troops and just shut off the gas. It may come to that.
You see what happened. But
in the winter
already, it's shut down now. The Northern Stream is shut down already. It's shut down already.
Completely now.
Yeah, as I said. How are we doing maintenance and then we're not opening up back in us?
Prolonged maintenance. All right. You raised the issue of cost of living. Next to energy, of course, rising cost of energy drives cost of living through the roof because everything is affected by it. There was a study which showed Jamaica as being amongst the highest. I think we're like in the top 9. Showing the highest inflation, the steepest rise in cost of living in the Latin America and the Caribbean region.
To 10%.
Jamaica is in the top of that. And so there was a discussion. I saw it in the I was looking at it. You know how these articles tend to be just information. It's not really seeking to point you to a reason. So I was looking at it, but what drew my attention was the fact that the central banks in all of the different countries had done the same thing that our central bank did. Interest increase. Yeah. And so the conversation was, for me, I wanted to know what is it then that is different. Why Jamaica? Why inflation in Jamaica?
Because we are import dependent.
It's because of the U.S. or
yeah, but we are import dependent. We import most things, even the things that we use in manufacturing. And if the dollar moved from 151 yesterday to 152. So
can hardly hear you, Percy. Where did the dollar go?
151 to 152. Just trying to find it at the end, the close of trading yesterday. So that's a major impact on what happens for us in terms of how our inflation. Most of the time, it's driven by.
Oh, your newspaper sounds like breeze. All right, you're saved by the bell. You can find it when we come back. It's 8 o'clock. We're taking our break. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Roisin Hasty with the BBC News. China's leader Xi Jinping is holding much anticipated talks with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin in Uzbekistan. Mr. Putin thanked Mr. Xi for what the Russian leader said was China's balanced position on Ukraine. Beijing has given rhetorical support for Moscow's invasion but has been wary of offering more. It's the leaders' first sit-down since the Beijing Winter Olympics in February, just before Mr. Putin sent his forces into Ukraine. Stephen McDonnell is in Beijing.
At that meeting, they announced this new relationship that the two countries were going to forge ahead in ways not seen before. And people at the time were wondering, what does that mean? Could it mean greater military cooperation? And certainly, at the same time, Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin are meeting in Uzbekistan, the navies of the two countries are in the Pacific Ocean having joint drills. And that clearly is not just a coincidence.
Police in northern India say they've arrested 6 men over the gang rape and murder of 2 teenage sisters who belong to a community which routinely faces violence. Crimes against women have been rising in the country. From Mumbai, Yogita Lamai reports.
The 2 teenage girls were sisters and lived in the Lakhimpur area of Uttar Pradesh. Their family says they were forcibly taken from their home by men on motorcycles. The bodies of the girls were later found hanging from a tree. The police chief in the area said the girls had been taken to a sugarcane field where they'd been raped and then strangled. Locals from their community have blocked roads and staged a protest demanding justice. But the tension has abated a little after the arrest of 6 men.
President Biden has welcomed what he describes as a tentative agreement between unions and rail companies to avert a nationwide train strike, which could have begun as early as Friday. Mr. Biden said railway workers would receive improved pay and working conditions. Here in London, a queue of mourners waiting to file past the late Queen's coffin has now reached more than 5 kilometres along the banks of the Thames. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to take the opportunity to view the coffin of Queen Elizabeth II as it lies in state. Catherine Emery travelled from the United States to view the coffin.
It was very emotional and very poignant, very touching to see everyone go in and pay their respects. And you can just feel the love that everyone has for her. We waited, I think we got in line around 11:30 last night. So it was a long wait, but it was definitely worth it for those couple of minutes in there.
This is the latest world news from the BBC. Officials in Kryvyi Rih in central Ukraine say it's been hit by another Russian missile. There are no reports of casualties, but it's only a day since a nearby dam was damaged in a missile attack. Kryvyi Rih is the home of Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, and there's been speculation that the attack was carried out as an act of revenge because of Ukraine's successful recent counter-offensive. Amnesty International has called for the Zimbabwean authorities to drop charges against university students who have been protesting against a steep hike in tuition fees. 14 students were arrested on Monday and charged with disorderly conduct. Europe's top human rights court has ruled that a Polish pop star who was convicted of blasphemy 10 years ago has had her rights violated. Dorota Repczewska, who's known by her stage name Doda, was fined by a Warsaw court for saying that the writers of the Bible had been intoxicated on wine and cannabis. The founder of the American outdoor clothing firm Patagonia says he hopes his decision to give the company away will influence a new form of capitalism that doesn't end up with a few rich and lots of poor people. Yvon Chouinard and his immediate family have been transferred ownership of the $3 billion company to a non-profit entity. This report from Andrew Wood.
Yvon Chouinard founded Patagonia 50 years ago in California. In an open letter, he said he'd considered selling Patagonia privately and donating the proceeds to charity. But he thought Patagonia, like many companies with good intentions, would then face pressure to create short-term gain. So a charitable trust run by his family will now control it. Patagonia will still try to make profits and will reinvest most of them for the long-term growth of the company. The rest will be given away to help the environment. Mr. Chouinard said the Earth was now the firm's sole shareholder.
Andrew Wood reporting there. BBC News.
If you choose to remain at home after an evacuation order has been issued, you do so at your own risk. Get down! Get down! Heed the warning!
The Morning Connection is not your usual talk show. We aim to stimulate discussion and chart new paths to self-empowerment. So please join us. Minett and Percy on The Morning Connection, Mondays to Thursdays, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. on Bess100 FM.
Are you stressed? Are you faced with trauma? Well, this is the program for you. Join Royton McLaren for youth resilience and empowerment every Monday from 7:30 to 8 p.m. on Best 100.5 FM.
You're listening to Best FM, the people's best friend.
Bess100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Welcome back. We're going into the stretch now where we're gonna get some company. Looking forward to Miss Winsome arriving. So I'm going to raise a few things with Pastor, see how he feels. These are things relating to energy and cost of living. And then just be in a good mood for him to sing happy birthday when Winsome is here.
Oh, Winsome actually is coming.
Yeah. I was telling you about the article, and I'm going to make a comment. I'm going to read something which is attributed to Mr. Putin, and then we're gonna. I'll invite your comment on the substance of it and the structure of it. So listen to this now. Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday threatened to completely cut energy supplies to the West if it tries to cap prices of Russian exports. He also vowed to press on with Moscow's military action in Ukraine until it achieves its goals. Speaking at an annual economic forum in the Far Eastern port city of Vladivostok, Putin scoffed at the EU plans for a cap on Russian oil and gas prices as a stupid idea that will only lead to a hike in prices. And now they quote, "An attempt to limit prices by administrative means is just ravings. It's sheer nonsense," Putin said. "If they try to implement that dumb decision, it will entail nothing good for those who will make it." He warned that such a move by the EU would represent a clear breach of the existing contracts, saying that Russia could respond by turning off the faucets. Will they make political decisions violating the contracts? He said. "In that case, we will just halt supplies. If it contradicts our economic interests, we won't supply any gas, oil, diesel oil, or coal." The Russian leader charged that Russia will easily find enough customers in Asia to shift its energy exports away from Europe. "The demand is so high on global markets that we won't have any problem selling," he said. All right, so dumb decision, ravings, nonsense. Those are words that you would normally hear in reports about what Mr. Trump is saying. I can see an effort in media to represent Putin as some kind of unreasoning, inarticulate buffoon. Could put it that way. Did I just describe Mr. Trump? You see what I'm saying? It's a part of how stories are reported and the tone you want to set and the language that, because this is a translation of what Mr. Putin would have said in his own language. So it's translated in English, but the choice of words in English convey a message. That's what I'm saying.
Message of what?
That is an idiot. No, that is an idiot. It's choice of words. Like when, they would have Mr. Trump using the word stuff and speaking almost like a teenager.
Okay.
That which is not language and that not the sentence construction that you would attribute to a leader of a country.
Oh, okay.
That's what and that dumb idea. If they try to,
is there another way of calling an idea dumb?
If they try to implement that dumb decision,
well, there's a think about it. If an idea is dumb, better straightforward. You think in the translation, they did that deliberately. That's what you're saying in terms of
because right, yeah. Yes.
See.
Yeah, that's what I think. Because I see that on the Western reports of the war carry a tone to suggest that this man is an egomaniac who is not even very smart. One of our callers was commenting on it too, and when I read it I said, but you see what he's saying here. He's saying that if the countries take administrative decisions to insulate the citizens from feeling the full brunt of this war, then he'll just shut it off altogether and they make the people really suffer. When you're really suffering, you will storm the Bastille and tear out the people out there and force your government to be accountable. And that is something we need to be mindful of on this side of the world. Even as I was pointing out to you that I think it's in the same paper that I found the article speaking to Jamaica's cost of living being so high in the region. Comparatively, it's not to say that it is higher than it should be given local conditions, but when you compare it to other countries in the region, it is amongst the highest. And we now have to look at what we're doing, what they're doing, how can we create a better result. Austria had announced a price cap. Now, it may be the case that the European Union is not agreed on applying price caps across the board, but individual countries are doing things which can help their citizens. The Austrian government on Wednesday, that's last Wednesday, announced plans for a power price cap to curb the rise in energy costs tied to Russia's war in Ukraine. And they've worked out the starting principle for them is that no one in Austria should be unable to afford their basic electricity needs. Wouldn't that be something if we had a similar commitment from our government?
Yeah.
That's the starting point for the Chancellor. He says no one should be unable to afford their basic electricity needs. This is about quick and unbureaucratic help, which is why no one needs to apply for it. So that's another thing they did. You don't need no needs. You don't need to show that you voted in the last 3 consecutive elections. They are doing it
for their people.
They're just doing it for their people. If you live in the country and you're plugging something into the wall and turning on a switch, you are automatically qualified. The electricity price cap is handled automatically for every household. It is another building block in the relief for people in a difficult time. Low-income households can apply for additional financial support. Aren't you wishing you lived in Austria? I just wish for our government to have the same kind of sensibility. The cost relief plan comes at a time when Russia and other European countries are struggling to contain an energy crisis and rising prices as Russia has throttled back supplies of natural gas. And how they did it, how how they did it, they said each person pays about 500 euros per year.
For what?
For energy.
Okay.
About 500 euros per year.
Use that as a base figure.
Yeah. So they use that. They're giving each person an average to cover that cost. Wow. If only we could, begin to approach the planning of intervention, welfare for people like that.
But the government has a direct impact on cost of living, inflation. The gas tax or the hedge fund, they could touch that and it would have far-reaching impact. But then again, on one side, I say, this is ready-made money. Why give it up?
Why give it up? Why give it up? You'd rather your people die or turn to crime, which is what? Because nobody's choosing death. This is not like that Old Testament lady who said, me and the boy will eat it and then die. No, people are turning to crime instead of, suffering. So I was gonna look for how we are standing in the region when it comes to the cost of living analysis. What struck me was the finding that all of the central banks had pursued pretty much the same. Here it is. Jamaica recorded the 9th highest 12-month rise in cost of living in the region at June this year, according to data from a regional United Nations economic body. The inflation rate at 10.9% over the 12 months to June ranks 9th among 33 nations in the Latin America and Caribbean region.
So we good, man?
We have to perform. Wow. Future inflation patterns in the region are closely linked to global inflation, as their determinants are very similar. For that reason, the effects of the invasion of Ukraine on prices for raw materials persist, in particular for energy and food. Inflation will remain high. That is the basic finding. Venezuela, with their civil unrest that has been going for a while, Venezuela had the highest inflation levels at 157%, followed by Argentina at 65% and Suriname at 55%. Jamaica's inflation rate ranks as the 3rd highest in the Caribbean sub-region. We are behind Haiti at 29.2% and Cuba at 28.9%. And I feel in my own understanding of things that the fortunes of Haiti, Cuba, and Jamaica are linked.
That's true.
And look at who we are in terms of even size.
Cuba, Haiti,
and Jamaica.
We're third largest now.
We are the largest English speaking
nation, right?
Yes. Yeah. So Jamaica is I mean, it's not as high. They are at 29 and 28. We are at 10. But it's continuing to climb because we've not seen anything that is likely to bring it in the right direction.
Right. And so when you look up,
so we have reflected the highest level of price increase in the English-speaking Caribbean. Understanding how we can intervene in simple ways, meaning things that you and I can do in our homes, that is a discussion that needs to be taken down to the household level in Jamaica.
It's important because you have to do everything to cut your costs, to conserve whatever it is. And I think even as we prepare for Winsome to come, she's been giving us tips as to how you can conserve, and she's been
with energy being one of the biggest drivers. But beyond that, I mean, what the portfolio is but beyond that, at the household level, because even if you cut out let's say you start to use lamp and candle and only use sunlight, that you've taken care of energy. But we are still consuming a lot of imported items.
That's a part of it.
So the substitutions in the diet need to be taken care of, and we got to understand what that requires of us. As passing, I was driving through the country coming home, and I saw a lady with cherries. So we bought a bag of cherries. We need to know that you can stew your cherry. You don't even have to add sugar unless you want to. And we have to change our palate and begin to appreciate things that require less salt, less sugar, so we can begin to moderate our use of processed foods, things that require additives and ingredients that are not locally produced. I have to change my diet and begin to appreciate more yam, more banana, less rice, because you have to import rice. So when you buy a bag of rice, you're only going to use it for those occasions when, for one reason or another, that's what you want. I'm just saying, at the very in the households is where we need to do a lot of our training and discussion, because persons have to change how they eat so that we are eating more of what we can produce and control and less of what has to be imported. If you're going to talk about taming inflation, and not just taming inflation, because inflation, let's put it, it's not inflation in and of itself is nobody's thinking about it. It's how do I eat, how do I survive, how do I, those basic things.
The healthy way, and give you the things that need to happen.
Yeah. So if you have one foreign exchange dollar that has to be used for something, let's choose what we want it to do. We don't want it to buy expensive motor cars. We know we have to buy fuel, so you have to reserve. That's really where we are in our thinking, and most people are not making that change. If you have one,
in terms of thinking, 2 cars drive one.
Listen to me, absolutely. And when it comes to what your imports should be, prioritize health and fuel. Things that you don't make for health,
substitute.
Yeah,
but so is Tony Hanna make fashion, or what was it crying in the 70s again?
We'll go back to this self-reliance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Self-reliance in terms of food security becomes important for us. I mean, in terms of some of the things that we do. And it goes back to food security. Remember, you raise the issue of the corn, the GMO modified, and then you want crop out that it grows, and you could take the seeds, you generate another crop. All of them things.
We have to take them seriously and make them a part of our personal daily experience and routine. I did tell you that all of the central banks did roughly the same thing. In keeping with central bank actions throughout the region, the Bank of Jamaica has utilized a series of measures to curb inflation, with hikes in benchmark interest rates being the most notable. It has also intervened in the foreign exchange market and tightened reserve requirements of deposit-taking institutions to mop up liquidity. I remember that phrase, mop up liquidity. 11 nations in the region raised interest rates as a tool to control inflation. Jamaica did the same. I'm sharing all of this to say that we've heard the panic-stricken complaints that what Bank of Jamaica is doing is disastrous in one way or another. Bank of Jamaica did the same thing that others have done. I'm really drawing our attention to recognizing the level of personal responsibility that we have to take.
Somebody pointed out to that, the personal responsibility that every individual has to take in terms of coming up with solutions so we can really deal with it. I am responsible for all of what is happening and all of what I am doing. So it becomes important, even as we talk about inflation and the components of inflation. A major component of inflation is fuel and food. And as I was saying before, a lot of the food is imported. So if we can replace that, it puts your country in a better place. And if you can do more preventive measures in terms of how you utilize oil and gas and those things, more power to you.
Yep.
So the whole inflation thing is just going over. It's all over the world. Wow.
You know, one of the things that is key to understand about inflation is that inflation takes place in the operation and circulation of money, because the things you need to survive are not that complex or complicated.
Sure. You just have to be intentional about what you do.
Yeah, and modify your consumption patterns so that they are in keeping with your lifestyle, your income, if you have one. A lot of people don't have an income, in the sense that there's no consistency to it, that such that you could say, all right, these are the plans I can make and stick to. And I think because a lot of Jamaicans have grown accustomed to living in that place of grace and uncertainty, living on the edge, it's very hard sometimes to implement policy, because policy thrives on trends and consistency and observable data that you can track and plot where it's going next. As a scientist, I see I've got your attention. When you're dealing with something that is so unstable in its characteristics that you can't pin it down and say, well, I perceive it's gonna go left or right,
really can't plan.
You really can't plan. And in saying this, I am appreciating the difficulty that decision makers have to plan effective courses of action for Jamaicans. I can see that because we're a mystic people. We defy every kind of ordinary calculations. So when we speak from here and we're trying to influence things, because no matter how mystical we are, the pressures that affect us are external to us, so we can't anticipate or control them. And we see things going around. We know that it is inevitable that we're gonna have an energy crisis. It's inevitable because we don't extract oil and process and produce oil, and we use electricity.
Incidentally, yesterday,
yes,
in the paper, a gentleman said, "You think there's gold in
them hills?" Well, we know that. God is just waiting to
release it for all of us. There's gold in them hills.
Yeah, there's gold. There's gold.
What do you think about that? Is a producer gold in them hills? You saw the news.
They just need to show me them hills.
Bella's Gate. They said gold in them hills in St. Catherine. I remember that's why the guys came in, because they were coming to the Indies to get gold and all of them different things. That's how they go.
Yes, there's gold. We know that. But you know, you're not going to find it until you can treat it well.
Oh, that's true.
That's why I love it that in his sovereign wisdom, God don't release certain things until the time is right and the people who can handle it. So, for example, like under the current state in Jamaica, the gold and the oil will hide themselves. Even if they're on top of the ground, they're going to cover up under a leaf. So this administration and this set of leaders and princes, people that we have in this country running things, don't get their hands on it. That's my belief.
Okay.
That is my belief. You know, like how you can be walking past something all the time and you don't see it until that's my belief.
Yeah. Here comes the beautiful Winsome.
With some loose some.
Yes.
All right, it's time for a break, and when we get back, we shall be singing.
What should a taxi service do for you? On On-Time Taxi Service is more than just a ride to the other side of town. They offer clean and spacious vehicles, reliable service, and promise to always look out for their customers. They'll come when you call and take you where you want to go on time.
From anywhere at all. You can call us at 926-3866.
We are something special on the road.
For a better choice in all your electrical supplies, A, authorized 3M dealer and better brand names. B, better service including free island-wide delivery. C, all major credit and debit cards accepted. It's ABC Electrical Sales. Shop number 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10. Open Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. We make your electrical jobs as easy as ABC. Call 754-382-528 or fax 754-3659. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice.
JPS spin and win. Get ready to spin and win of niceness. Yes, when you go prepaid with JPS, we can start to shopping spree and more. Switch our sign up, we prepaid for winnings galore. Go prepaid with JPS and top up with 120 kilowatt hours or more for a chance to win in the spin and win draw every month. Or you could be the grand prize winner of $2 million. Yes, go prepaid with JPS. Go prepaid and done. Visit jpsco.com for more info. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Bess100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
Today's best music. The best mix of your light rock favorites is on
Bess FM.
Are you celebrating your birthday for your mom?
So we're gonna. Yes. So we're coming back in song. Do we need to rehearse? Do we need a rehearsal? We should have rehearsed.
Okay. So because I wasn't, I'm gonna talk a little bit about what causes power outages and how we are.
We've been warming up the stage for you.
Oh, really? Thank you.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Winsome. Happy birthday to you. Okay, Percy, you can do your version because I saw you.
Thank you.
You know what? This is the
happy birthday. Happy birthday to you, dear Winsome. Happy birthday.
Sing the chorus.
Happy birthday.
Thank you so very much.
Happy birthday, my dear.
Yes, my birthday was on Sunday, but I'm celebrating all month and I accept gifts all month.
All right.
I told them it was all year, you know, but anyway.
Well,
but for the month of September, we got all out.
Well, I mean, word is that you have a favorite birthday cake, but since we didn't know what it was, what is the favorite cake? Oh, chocolate. Chocolate. Well, I am sure that by the time you come back next week, we will have the chocolate cake.
Oh, she bring the chocolate cake for us.
No, it's not good like that.
That went so fast.
That is.
It went
that
so
is
fast.
It wasn't just me. Trust me. I mean, I got like.
There other people think chocolate is a pretty good cake too.
Well,
nice. You know, welcome again. We missed you, but we see that you've been very, very busy. And of course, it's you've been working on some very important issues before you came on. And just to remind our listeners, we take it for granted that everybody know Miss Winsome Callum. JPS has been very diligent in doing a segment with us that looks at matters pertaining to the very, very important subject of energy. And we've been fortunate to get the attention of no other than Miss Winsome Callum herself, Miss JPS, but I think she would throw away the sash right now.
She put on her birthday sash.
The sash of chocolate cake on it. But Winsome is the Director of Communications. Is that the easiest way to say it?
That's right.
What does it really mean that you're a Director of Communications? You make up the content, or you? I want to know.
There are days when I wonder myself what happens, but I do have overall responsibility for stakeholder communication, primarily our external stakeholders, our people operations HR. They're responsible for internal and so we support, of course.
Yes.
But my portfolio is really about external communication, so we ensure that we do our customer education. We have responsibility for all the platforms, the social media platforms, advertising, marketing, community outreach foundation, just general stakeholder relationship management.
And most importantly, the government, I suppose.
That is part of my portfolio. I support that, but we do have a director for government
relations.
Corporate relations.
Government relations.
Okay, yeah.
Government and the regulatory.
All right. I definitely need to say a special prayer for that department.
For that
because
person is spending
time. It's well, I mean, I suppose one of the things you do in educating the customers is making sure we are aware of the extent to which you rely on and work with government to deliver the services that you do.
Definitely.
Last week you dropped a bombshell. Do you know people were talking about it in the week?
Really?
Yes. The conversation we had. And just to remind you of the point, we were talking about the technology behind the provision of energy and what you are doing. And you said that, no, that is government, that's policy. You can't just get up and say, we're going nuclear, or we're going to go underground, or we're going to do, and I think it was a sobering thought for me, because as we look at managing the cost of energy, we are blaming the person who is on the spot and saying, you're making it expensive for us. So knowing that you are in partnership with the government, and knowing too that the government summoned JPS to Jamaica House or wherever. Did your people survive?
Of course we did.
Did the minister survive is the next question.
Yes, of course he did.
All right, good. So they said no animals were harmed.
No, there was no bloodletting. But just to establish a context, we work very closely with the government and with the regulatory framework on two levels. So first of all, the government is still a part owner of JPS.
20%.
They have three directors, 3 government-appointed directors
on the board.
Of JPS.
How many persons are on the board altogether?
Nine,
so they're 1/3.
So they are.
They're 20%. Give them a 1/3 board.
That's correct. So we have 2 other owners who are overseas. One is Marubeni and one is EWP, East West Power from Korea. So you have a Japanese company that has part ownership and a Korean company that also has part ownership, and the government. And all 3 would have, all 3 of them have 3 appointed directors
on the board, and it's 1 director, 1 vote.
Right. So that's how
Yes.
it is at that level. So they're
actually meeting.
In absolutely.
Them actually meet.
I don't know. There are some boards that you hear that they never meet for 1 year, and so because for the government to advocate a certain position, when it has 3 members on a board and the board meets with regularity, suggests that there's an information gap.
And there are subcommittees of the board. It's not just board meetings that you have the meetings of the subcommittees. So that's one level which the government is involved in JPS. And secondly, you know that we're a regulated company. So we have to rely on the regulator, the Office of Utilities Regulation, to establish a regulatory framework. They hold us accountable. They set the service standards, the operational standards at which we are to be delivering to our customers. So we don't just arbitrarily,
raise rates and so on.
Yeah, and they set the rates also. So we are heavily regulated and closely monitored and scrutinized by the OUR. And then beyond the OUR, you do have the government, which has we also, the ministry has oversight responsibility. The Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology has oversight responsibility for JPS, and there is also the government-appointed generation procurement entity, and this entity decides when and what type of generation capacity, fuel type, Jamaica needs.
So that comes out of the ministry directly?
It comes out, I can't say for certainty who the report
probably
to,
finance. Most procurement committees go back to finance.
It's the government, not necessarily the Ministry of Energy. So we are guided by all of these. So we can't, as you indicated, we can't just get up and say we feel like putting in a nuclear power plant or a renewables power plant. It doesn't work like that. We have to get permission and get the directives straight from the government and through the OUR to go ahead and do this. And other players are in the market, so other persons can build generating plants with the approval of the OUR. They usually send out, once the GPE, the Generation Procurement Entity, says, okay, we're going for LNG, for example, then the OUR sends out an RFP, request for proposals. JPS will be one of those entities that participates, and we may or may not be selected.
Okay.
No, it's an unusual situation for a citizen to find that the minister with responsibility is going to bat for the citizen, calling in JPS to say, how are you going to resolve these problems? And the problems are problems that interest us, one in particular having to do with your response to customer complaints and so on, and all of that is right in your area in terms of the relationship between stakeholder, customer, and JPS.
Well, we do have a customer services team that doesn't report
to me. That is not
not pure
right.
But we're one company. I represent the organization, so I do speak on behalf of the company. But the issue of being summoned, that's fine, that's expected, and we have to be held accountable.
True.
Your
license requires it, in fact.
Yeah, so we have to be held accountable. So that it's not an issue to be summoned, and so we have to always be on our toes and ensure that we are operating as best as possible in the interest of our customers and the country. So the issues that were of primary concern to our minister were included the speed with which new customers were being added to the grid, and our response to power outages because of the complaints that he has been getting. So it's really not JPS's desire to have people without power. It does not make
No.
sense.
You make money at all.
You make money when their system is used.
It's not in the interest of the business to not provide the service that you're selling, because the only way we collect is when the meter is spinning. So there's that. Plus, it's not in the interest of the country to stop production and to prevent schools, homes from operating. It just would make sense.
These new customers were it's more likely affecting residences, or
So
are
we
there
do
areas
we
which
do
require
have residential and business
customers
who
awaiting
are
connection
to the grid. So based on the last check, that's just around 1,000 customers who have already made applications and who are awaiting connection, and it's a combination of businesses and
May I congratulate you on something? One of our listeners was interested in the prepaid meter. She applied for it and was told that it would take about 7 days or something like that, and she got it in 24 hours.
Wow.
In the Spanish Town area.
I'm so glad to hear that, because
she called me with great exultation.
Yes, I
she
really
got it within 24 hours.
We don't always get the good
Yeah.
stories. So
That's a good one.
Yeah,
No, we're the best news. We're best FM.
Best FM.
So it's
good one,
encouraging.
Pastor.
It's really encouraging.
Yes, she called me. She said they told me, I don't know if it was 5 days, whatever time, she got it in 24 hours. So I said, I must share it when next I see you, because
we hear the ones that are waiting, and for one reason or the other, we do have some that are delayed. Sometimes it's because the customer doesn't understand the requirement to submit certain documentation, so we've had those. Sometimes it's on the part of the company where there is somebody drops a ball, or we actually don't have the equipment or the material in stock to connect the customer. And this is one of the problems, and the minister correctly said that there was some delay, and one of the primary reasons, the main causes of the delays for connection is the shortage of material. And it's not because of carelessness on the part of JPS, it's because there are issues globally, regionally, with small countries like ours, small utilities like JPS, really having to stand in line behind the larger utilities
with their huge orders.
Issues.
And these are not things we can make locally. There's no opportunity in there for manufacturing.
Not at this point. There was a time many decades ago when some things were being manufactured locally, but it wasn't cost effective for the local teams doing the manufacturing.
Yeah.
So we had some challenges there, but there are disruptions globally as a result of COVID. Yes, COVID is 3 years old almost.
Yes.
But in some countries like China, you still have labor shortages, and you have some shortages in the supply.
So some is shipping and some is production.
It's production. And you have the logistics, the shipping logistics that's compounded by the war in Europe.
Ukraine. Yes.
It's really
and
really
add to that 12 days of mourning.
That too.
It's 12 or 10. Which one it is?
Whatever
our
that
Prime
means
Minister announced
for
12.
the individual countries.
Yes.
So you have a lot of things outside of the country's control.
Yeah.
That
no, as you said it, I just remember a report being made to me last night that in England, because of the mourning, persons who had waited 4 years for a medical appointment lose that appointment, have to go back in a waiting list. I suppose they'll, but
I didn't understand mourning to mean you just stop doing everything.
Because it's a bank holiday, how she was explaining to me is that because it's a bank holiday, places are entitled to be closed.
Wow.
And some places have just closed. So medical appointments, funerals have had to be postponed.
It was in the paper.
Yeah.
Well, I missed that.
Someone sent me. So I just think about how things can interrupt the flow of life, and even big important things like big things,
and they have the ripple effect.
They have a ripple effect. That's
so it's not to say that we at JPS are being complacent and are comfortable with the fact that we have people waiting. Not at all. And we've done, as we explained to our minister, there are many things that we have been doing to really expedite the delivery of materials and equipment. So we expect that we will see some reprieve, and these customers will be added as quickly as we can. We have actually been communicating to the business associations and to the large customers directly, those with big projects like housing development.
So I saw that in the minister's press release, and I thought I believe that the customer concerns were an add-on. I suspect that the greater emphasis is how these things impact large construction developments, large manufacturing projects, and so on.
And you understand the concern is valid.
Yeah.
But one point I must make is that in a lot of cases, these developers do not contact the JPS at the start of their project.
So you are not able to plan for them.
Exactly. So if they alert us at the start of the project to say, we're building 500 rooms and this is what we will need, then clearly we will just mobilize and start ordering early. But what we found is that a lot of the developers contacted us almost at the end when they're ready to complete, put in meters and so on.
But earlier we were talking about the mayor of Lucy has asked for the National Works Agency to be kicked out of his parish because he says their performance is poor and the roads for which they have responsibility are not being attended to with diligence. And so Percy and I started a little journey looking through, how it was playing out, some of the actual numbers in terms of effectiveness. And we're looking at the way the government will set up agencies that have a contracting role and a regulatory role. If you are building a house, you have to send your design, including your electrical designs and whatever it is you're doing. You have to send it to parish council and it goes someplace. One would assume that this procurement committee and that it goes into all of that planning and regulatory oversight. Now I realize JPS is over-regulated.
Well,
if you are dealing, but it must be, Percival, look at that. The government, we, the people, have 3 directors on the board, and I'm sure we are present in the various subcommittees.
Must be.
They are under regulatory oversight of the ministry and the OUR. They have a license which fixes their pricing mechanism and so on. They are closely monitored and scrutinized by the 2 ministry and the OUR in their operations. Plus, they have a procurement oversight. You must have like a huge and you still have to deal directly with a construction company that is putting up. It's not like when the applications going to government and they can say to you, listen, JPS, we have approved construction plans for 10,000 houses.
Yes, it's a lot of it's a lot of layers, but it's workable, It's workable.
Well, yeah, it's your business. You will invest in making it work.
It has been working. You may have hiccups here and there, and the framework may not be the best when you look at how other countries operate.
Yeah.
But it works, and I believe all the different partners are interested in seeing it.
Seeing it be more efficient.
But you do have cases where you need to come to the table and have a conversation to say, all right, guys, this isn't working so well, or this could be improved. Let's see how we can do it. And I think that's the point.
So the visit, the cabinet meeting would have been useful.
That was a very useful meeting, and I believe every now and then we need that kind of conversation to get different input and to give us an opportunity to explain what's happening to the broader government body.
I would have figured, seeing that there are 3 directors on the board, report to this ministry, report to this, OUR, that what happens
not even me can hear Percy. The breeze is blowing away your words.
No, I said I would have assumed with 3 directors, OUR,
ministry,
all those different things that you would have had. You shouldn't have a communication breakdown. That the minister wouldn't have to call and say, okay.
Well, not just call them, because he should call them and be free to. Yeah. But issue a press release saying this is, and speak against the OUR giving you a little toops of an increase. Even me feel shame. That seems like an extreme thing. But
she's smiling.
Yeah, it's our birthday month. We gotta,
She said
we were surprised by it.
In every relationship, you will have hiccups, and that doesn't mean that the relationship is flawed
or fractured.
Or in fact, sometimes it means it's working.
Sometimes
because persons are comfortable to burp and hiccup.
Yeah, it's necessary. So it's not really something that gets in the way of us moving forward. It probably helps to clear the way for us to move forward. So
well, I know you're a spiritual woman, because every time there's a crisis, there's an opportunity.
Absolutely.
So listen, man, sometimes you have to incite the man to invite you to the big house. So you bring your list.
This wasn't a case of us inciting, but it's always good to have the conversations.
Of course,
and I think transparency is so important.
That's important.
And if there is a feeling that more should be forthcoming from JPS, then let's validate that feeling. Let's see what is it that is required. And so and as we say to our customers every day, call us out. We must be held accountable. Because sometimes we are so busy doing what we think is the right thing, and we actually
only to discover that you're causing a problem.
It happens with every company, I believe, where you need to hear from your stakeholders.
All right, so I'm going to pose a kind of a hypothetical. We have a few minutes to the break, so this one you can amuse yourselves with this one. If I could send a message with the JPS team to the meeting in cabinet whenever it took place on Monday, my question would have been just to request that they do what some of the other countries are doing, a price cap, just something to ease the cost.
We have the subsidy already, man.
Yeah, but I don't get it. They give it to other people. I am outside of the.
And that was limited. It's now.
It's finished now.
It's at an end.
And that's what I thought too. That it has ended. As the crisis is deepening, it has ended. So I'm asking now. Other places are doing various things, and I made a note because Percy was reading out to me what the European Union, their mix of strategies: mandatory cutoff on energy use, subsidies, and that's about it.
Well, you have.
So how are you looking at help easing? Is it outages? How are those gonna go?
You've noticed how other governments are responding, because this is not just an issue about the utility.
It's not.
It's affecting energy all over. I think the last time we spoke, I was very surprised myself to realize that in the US you had such a serious energy crisis that 1 in 6 households were having problems paying their bills. And in Europe, as you've listed, you have the government stepping in. You have France and
Austria,
everybody stepping
and
in
Russia saying, if you're going too far, I'll cut it off altogether.
Exactly. So we've seen our own government step in and say, for persons who use 200 kilowatt hours or less, we will give you a subsidy. That came to an end. It's no longer on the bills as of August. So we're expecting that there will be another conversation about a continuation of some kind of.
So that didn't make the agenda on.
No, it wasn't. I wasn't in the room, and I can't speak to exactly what was said.
That was my message.
I'm sure, though, I am confident that it is on the government's agenda. I'm sure that the Minister of Finance is looking at, what else can be done for the country.
Have you seen a fall off? Has JPS seen a fall off in people paying bills either promptly, fully? Has there been?
We have seen a slowdown in on-time payments. Usually you have people wanting to pay on time to get
the incentive.
But we've seen a slowdown. And another thing is persons are paying their bills in parts or asking for extensions. So we've seen that, and we understand. We've been trying, though, to urge persons to conserve, because sometimes you think you're conserving, but you're not. So it's the one thing that you have control over is how much energy
we consume.
So exercise that control as much as possible and reduce your usage.
We have 1 minute before the break. I want to use it to the best advantage. What can we expect in terms of outages and the treatment of them and so on?
Power outages, that's such a complex topic.
Can't be done in a
minute. But you have the planned outages, which we advertise. So we ask persons to get us their mobile numbers, their cell numbers, send those to us. Give us your cell numbers so that you can get information on
the planned outages.
The unplanned outages, as best as possible, we try to advise persons, but those are usually caused by things outside of JPS's control, like motor vehicle accidents, people stealing electricity, equipment failure, and so on, especially trees touching lines, persons planting trees or allowing their fruit trees to grow up in lines. That causes a lot of outages. So the ones that you can control, you can do something to reduce the number of outages. You can take charge of that while JPS takes charge of
Okay, but the government hasn't asked you to implement what mandatory cutoffs?
No, I don't think we're at that stage at all, and I don't think that the government will ever ask us to do that. But we have to work together on the solutions.
All right, the producer is telling me that if you have a few more minutes after the break, we'd be very happy to complete the conversation.
No, I actually have a 9:30 meeting, so I have to head up for that.
Yes, you need your time. Well, God bless you for sharing time with us, especially during birthday month.
She's gonna bring cake for us next week.
All right, Percy will work on that. All right, Miss Winsome, thank you very, very much. I wish you all the best in the days ahead.
Thank you so much. I will actually be on vacation for a couple of weeks, so I won't see you next week.
That was said with such joy. Please make arrangements for your substitute.
Okay. Yes,
all right. Thank you very much. All right, and we're going to take our break now. When we come back, we will wrap things up for the morning.
With all the best music from yesterday and today. All genre radio.
You good? You can get better. Spread the word. Straight Up gets better on Bess FM. Straight Up Jerry Small, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays on Bess100 FM. 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Jerry Small. The numbers are 279-8473, 279-8473, and 619-1508. 619-1508. Also streaming live on the internet. Bess FM, Straight Up, Robin Jerry Small.
If you got to feel it, you got to be clean. You got to make it straight. You can't be lean. Share the joys togetherness can bring. To the true soul, you just have to cling, and then you will feel it, you'll feel the soul inside of you.
Not your hearts be troubled, just believe in God Almighty and daily renew the mind. As we live in this time when fake is more valued than real, lies prefer the truth, the unnatural put above the natural. This is Lady Donna, aka Double D Don, with a new song, Almighty Jah, encouraging your people to keep the faith. God will make a way. Get your copy today. It's on all digital platforms. Lady Donna Official on Instagram, Facebook, AsujaRecords.com. For bookings, Asuja Record label at Gmail. Almighty Jah!
Warning, when there is a hurricane warning, button down, tie down, everything. Lift appliances and furniture off the ground and secure your valuable items. If you wanna boat, secure it on land and turn on your yard if you a fisherman. Make sure you turn off every breaker, and before you sleep, turn off your generator. Flooding, that is a real danger. If you live a gully bank, river bank, or low line area, if you see flood waters are rising, get out, get out. Heed the warning. If your land starts slipping and a sliding, get out, get out. Heed the warning. Hurricanes gonna happen, so be prepared.
A message from the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management.
Bess100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
It's good, it's better, but nothing beats.
Very informative interview with Miss Winsome McCallum. Always a breath of fresh air in terms of how she represents her company, and she's very, I'd say, very diplomatic in her responses.
But it's not just the representation, because there are some people who they will do every kind of craziness because they are speaking the company line. It is her knowledge of what is happening and her ability to give you a meaningful response. Winsome has never just trotted out a party line to us. Have you noticed?
Yeah.
One occasion when she was leaving the set, and I was thanking her, and it was clear that we had both enjoyed the discussion. She said to me that she enjoys it because she knows you and I are genuinely interested. So it becomes a meaningful discussion on what is happening in this sector, which is so important to the welfare of the country. Amongst the things she said, which I certainly made a note, I made a note of the governance structure under which they operate. Mm-hmm. And in my experience,
overregulation.
They are overregulated is the first thing I believe. And the second is, with that level of overbearing oversight, there is no reason for a press release of the kind issued by the minister.
Yeah.
That press release, I would say, was uncalled for.
It was, I think, it was very...
maybe I should explain, but...
No, but I'm in agreement with you.
Okay.
I think in terms that it brought attention to, hey, we're trying to do something, but when you move beyond the smoke and mirrors or the heat, really? That's what that was about?
Well,
100,000, really?
We know that no place in Jamaica you have 100,000 people waiting to go on. The only place we had 100,000 people and still have more than 100,000 people waiting for service is in telecoms.
Okay.
Not for electricity.
No, sir.
Don't have 100,000 people who apply for service and can't get service. But even if that were so, you should not need to issue you know what a press release is? For one, a press release is available to the world.
Yes.
Press release is not a private note between me and you sitting beside each other at the table. The media is accessible to the world. When you put out a press release and you put it on your website, it is a black mark against the management of the company who are doing business in other parts of the world. If you have financiers, people investing in your business, it's a black mark against your record.
I can't go and raise money on the market.
when one of my little bit of country down there, so with a handful of customers, is accusing me of poor performance in some basic things.
No, but and then I'm sitting on the board.
And then you hear they are 30% of the board. They own 20% of the business and they have 30%
at the board. So you wonder what is
I said 30, 1/3.
Yes.
Let's call it that. 9 members of the board, and the government have 3 board members.
So I'm saying to myself, those people are appointed to the board. The minister has to approve them.
Approve is the minister appoint them?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So nobody can just go and sit on the board without the minister knowing. So he could call one of them and say, guys, can you bring this
What
up?
is happening? And they have subcommittees. A business of that nature don't just meet every month, and there are subcommittees that are working. They have government relation people.
Yes, and then the one that does in terms of procurement drives policy in terms of what energy source he use. So I'm going.
It's a joke.
It is not a joke, you know. It is very Machiavellian.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, man. I look at that press release and I see something similar that happened in the past, and I knew where it was going. Government have an agenda that they're pursuing, and let us just say very plainly here, the business of energy in this country is not a football or a bargaining chip or some get-rich scheme that the government
some people see
need
it,
to, yeah. Please, we're begging the government, don't get into no tussle with JPS over the state of energy in this country unless you have good grounds that can stand up to scrutiny.
Because remember, you know, whether we like it or not, let's broaden the discussion a little bit. There's land grab that is happening. There's grab that is happening for the major sources of wealth creation in this country. So it now becomes focused in the hands of a few. Let's not lose sight of that. So the question is, Mr. Minister, what exactly, or government, what exactly are your intentions? What are the motivations? It could not have been the people of Jamaica, because there seems to be something very sinister
at play
here. All right, so let us see what it is. Let us look beyond the smoke and mirrors and see what is happening. Come on, I'm just asking.
I see a trend as well. You know, I mentioned with you that there appears to be the government is getting in some, or let's not say government, politicians are making statements in the area of energy supply and where JPS is concerned that I would say some care is needed. There was a report about a killing that took place in Shudley. A gas station attendant was killed in Shudley.
JPS, go.
And during a power outage.
Shudley's in Manchester.
And the incident occurred during a power outage. I'm trying to find the words that it's either the MP or there were some words used to suggest that JPS was at fault.
And then JPS is at fault with the fire too.
Then I see, you're reading my mind, Pastor Percy.
No, I'm not reading your mind. It's the spirit that is speaking. Sister.
Yeah. So I look at it and I say, you know, we've had many situations when there's a hole in the road because one or other government agency didn't do what it should do, and citizen fall in Brookfoot or something, and we get told about the law that prevents a citizen from recovering against the careless agency, which either didn't monitor, didn't do their work, whatever it is. The laws and the precedents that surround how you handle civil liability for certain type of events have been very, very narrowly construed over the years to prevent citizens from going against government for failure to maintain.
Even though why we build now the thing and we're not maintaining it, but anyway.
Yes. When I saw the comment about the power outage creating a situation of danger, I thought how JPS would even come into that construction into, when I say construction, I mean, how would you fit JPS as a liable party in what had happened? What about the police and no coverage? What about even the gas station for not having independent power? Or there are any other ways you could look at it? Yet JPS name was called, and I asked myself, is there an emerging trend or narrative concerning JPS and its role in some of these things where we never used to call their name? JPS is still one of the companies that benefit from a ancient piece of legislation that talk about trespass on the property of utilities.
Okay.
Telephone company used to be in it. So there are some infrastructure that if you touch them, it's a criminal offense. If you touch them with illegal intent, it's a criminal offense. It used to be, and still is. Telecoms Act has continued it for some aspects of the telecommunications infrastructure, the electrical infrastructure, water commission. Those things, if you steal from them, meaning you attach yourself to their network to take value, it's a criminal offense.
It is.
Trespassing on the works. Trespassing on the works of a public utility. It's an offense. So the law was created around protecting these assets.
So that's interesting.
As a consequence, they were treated almost like government property.
Okay.
Harking back, of course, to the line of ownership, because these businesses were typically owned by
government.
Right. Now I'm seeing JPS name being called in this situation that took place in Shudley. Are you trying to find the story for me? And I begin to ask myself, are we at the stage now where we can really look to see whose actions or inaction contributed to a situation of harm and loss? That's how it is in some jurisdiction, you know. If you're walking on the road and some misadventure befall you and you lose money, life or limb, people begin to scour to see which agency is responsible for the road, who didn't do what or should have done what, and they begin to file action. So in some places you'll see people will file an action against the city because the city didn't put up because the city didn't put up signage that say don't walk when vehicles are traversing the road. Or it gets kind of bizarre. For the first time, I saw that issue being raised, and it was not raised by citizens, because citizens are always saying, if there's a power outage and my chicken gets spoiled or my fridge broke down or whatever, you should pay for it. And government had always maintained under the licenses a restraint on how far you can go in holding JPS accountable for certain things. Now, within a fairly short period of time, we see JPS being at the center of a liability conversation pertaining to, for one, the death of a citizen on private property.
Because there's no light?
Because there was a power outage at the time. And to me, it feeds into the minister's complaint that the outages are too long and persons are suffering loss, and JPS is not being sufficiently responsive. Now, that is something you know that the government can address with legislation and regulations and license.
They can?
Of course they can. That's something that they can address. Because currently the constraint that says JPS will cover you up to like must be 6 months, they'll reimburse you for something limited to a certain, those are pursuant to license conditions and regulation. All right, so this is the story. A Manchester councillor has suggested that had street lights in his division been speedily repaired by the Jamaica Public Service Company, gunmen would have possibly been deterred from killing a security guard at a gas station in Shudley on Tuesday. Reports from the Mandeville police are that about 6:30 p.m., which is, I don't know how dark it gets. Maybe, do you know what? Sometimes 6:30 p.m. is quite dark. Men traveling on foot visited the petrol station with a bottle in hand, posing as customers. They opened gunfire, hitting the deceased multiple times before stealing his firearm. The men then assaulted a pump attendant and robbed him of an undetermined sum of cash before fleeing the scene. The police were summoned and the injured men taken to the hospital, where one was pronounced dead and the other was treated. This is where it becomes political. During the monthly sitting of the Manchester Municipal Corporation on Thursday, Christiana Division Councillor blasted JPS for its tardiness in repairing the lights, referencing what has been said to be footage of the attack. Harrison said he was saddened by the incident. It is my view, after looking after what came on the phones, that those lights might have helped to deter what had taken place there. I am glad the JPSCO representatives are here and they can explain the reason that after 6 weeks these lights were not repaired, he said. And then JPS spoke about JPS spoke about the supply chain issues which resulted in them not being able to repair. So we were unable to repair those 2 street lights, and I should just communicate that we are still having challenges as it relates to our supply chain, as it relates to our material to repair some of these lights. The timeline given is 3 to 6 months for some of the material to come in, he said. Harrison, this is, the councillor was not pleased with the response. The council has been paying for these lights that are out. If you can't repair them, replace them. They are necessary. That's why they're out there, he said. I'm not even going to look to see which side of the bench this councillor is on. But what I'm seeing is, I see the minister making a public statement about his dissatisfaction with JPS performance and the delay that is being caused in having some of these things attended to. And I see a councillor, in a small community, making a connection between lights that are not in service and the murder of a citizen. I'm one that I see things from far.
No, we see things. We see beyond the intent and the connection.
Yes.
That is why we are here.
But you know what? I think if we're going to sue anybody or hold anybody responsible for crime and violence in this country, it's not going to be for the missing street light. It's not going to be the person who should repair the missing street light.
It has to be for the people. Ultimately says, time has come that you'll sleep with your windows. Your doors. The door and the window open. It's being under your own vine and fig tree type of freedom and prosperity. There, that word I used, it, prosperity. I saw that, and I said, hold on. It would be a good development, because it would be a good development for us to broaden the concept of civil liability in terms of who's responsible, who is my neighbor. That would be a good thing. But I think it wouldn't be just in relation to public utilities and companies like JPS. I think it would also be in relation to government agencies who have a responsibility to maintain and supply. True.
So
a lot of them fall now.
A lot of them. So if we're going to look at it, we're not going to look at it because somebody have a bee in the bonnet or a desire to do something in the energy sector and they're creating drama and chaos and
narrative
building a narrative of yes, right. And because JPS has always been so hated, I think I tell you, it is an amazing thing, because I'm not a JPS fan. I never was. I never understood enough of why things were or why things are the way they are.
But no, you're good to
but
understand
we
me.
pursued doing a segment with JPS and getting the information and doing the research, and we are beginning to get a deeper insight, and we are sharing it with you. You must know who your enemies are, and you must know who should be your allies, and you must know and have a context in which to address the issues that are of importance to us today. Energy is a big issue. In the conversation about energy, we need allies. We don't need enemies.
Food security is a big issue. I can't forget that.
Yeah.
Mr. Leachin.
There you go. You're just waking up the Innswood Estate Bernard Lodge land issue because and you see it is, I think he came out and said it's a lie and so on, but I beg civil society, those who are sending up the drones and those who are keeping an eye on things, do not let it slide. If you see houses popping up out of that land and not what they're supposed to be planting, mangoes and papayas and fruit trees, we have to, we can't forget it or leave it and say someone else will deal with it. Hi Wayne. Wayne says bees, ants and other animals don't need money to do things. They need natural resources with the wisdom that God gives them. So mankind need to honor God so that God will bless them.
Amen.
Well said, sir. Well, Big Truck is chiding me for being altruistic or maybe naive.
Soft?
Naive. No, naive. He said, Minett, we poor people don't care about all them reforms that concern you. He leave me out of the poor people camp. I'm hurt. He said, we look food for the belly. We don't invent anything. We follow fashion. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek because a lot of that is true.
Yeah, and that is what gets us into problems all the time. Because somebody has said it, starve them all of the time, closer to election, feed them.
Give them a little something and watch them go crazy.
Yeah.
Wayne also said that money is a tool that people use. Without money, we would still survive. We need justice, which is common sense. With that, all things will be in place.
But that's an important principle that we need to understand. And there comes a point, and people call it a tipping point within a society where people are saying, I cannot live only for what is presently happening. I have to live long term. And so because I have hope that because of my present action will have some impact and effect, I'm going to do it now. I'm going to make the sacrifice. Because anything that is worth fighting for, any cause, you have to make sacrifice. You have to think not only of yourself, but you have to think of the other people and to think of your grandchildren and your children's children. That is why some people always are ahead of the game, because they never only thought of the present, but they thought long term and put in the actions that would bring the greatest impact in the long term. But it is sad though. It is very, very sad. It is very, very sad. Very, very sad. Very, very sad. Very, very sad.
Can I cheer you up with anything, sir?
Sure you can.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything to cheer you up just yet. I have to think of something. The fire which was continuing at Kemlani Mart, because I drove past it. Past it in the. What I noticed this morning. Yes, hold on. They were still doing Come to think of it. Right. But when we were passing it yesterday, there was still quite a bit of smoke, and the fire trucks were there and so on. And it seems to be quite extensive. I mean, like one wing of the mall had obviously been affected. The report from Mr. Kemlani is that a pole fell on the building and started the fire, electricity pole. Now, a lot of JPS poles they do a pole sharing. They have pole sharing agreements with other utilities, telecoms, and cable companies. And I'm just looking back at the issue of liability as we move from the councillor saying the out of service lights contributed to an unsafe situation that led to a murder. That it seemed to me that those people were out to murder the man, and the light was not. It's not like in the absence of the light.
Yeah.
It seemed like they came with a plan, and the light had nothing at all to do with it.
The light, no. When they go to kill somebody, they're not going to stop them.
They're doing it in broad daylight, much less.
Much less, said the darkness.
Yeah, so I kind of dismiss that. I don't see how that could be any reasonable connection to why that crime was committed. But Mr. Kemlani's complaint is of an entirely different order. JPS has pole sharing arrangements with different companies, and the pole is on the public roadway, and all kinds of things are happening on the public roadway too. Not necessarily in that area, but you can see that sometimes NAA is digging up, contractors are digging up, and it can create a situation of instability. The report is that a pole fell on the building, started a fire, and the fire progressed.
The pole
exploded
broke. And
no, he says the one fell. All right, I'll share it with you in the break, and when we come back, because it's now 9:30. When we come back, we can just finish looking at it and see what it means, even for those customers who have had their mishaps and lost things as a result of matters connected to the assets or property of a public utility.
Veg & Print is for all your printing needs. We specialize in calendars, flyers, brochures, and more. Call us today at 968-7506. That's 968-7506. Or visit us at 4 East Bloomsbury Road, off Hagley Park Road. Veg & Printers, your best choice in printing.
The station that rules the nation. From state to state, country to country.
Bess FM.
We play the hits just for you.
You good? You can get better. Spread the word. Straight Up gets better on Bess FM. Straight Up Jerry Small, Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Thursdays on Bess100 FM. 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Jerry Small. The numbers are 279-8473, 279-8473, and 619-1508. 619-1508. Also streaming live on the internet. Bess FM, Straight Up, Robin Jerry Small.
If you got to feel it, you got to be clean. You got to make it straight. You can't be lean. Share the joys togetherness can bring. To the true soul, you just have to cling, and then you will feel it, feel it, feel. You feel the soul inside of you.
There will be days when you're too tired to move, to drive, but you think you have to because your vehicle won't wash itself, right? But no, you don't have to visit a car wash. 123 Mobile Car Wash will come straight to you. Yes, you heard right. 123 Mobile Car Wash is offering services in Kingston and St. Andrew and St. Catherine. We shampoo and detail cars, trucks, offices, and more. No job too small. Call us at 876-631-3400. 123 Mobile Car Wash. We come to you.
Bess FM, strictly the best. How me say a real reggae music. Music for the black nation. Roots rock reggae music. I me say consciousness is the key. Kabaka Pyramid.
Bess100 FM is the authentic voice of Jamaica, promoting your prosperity with better vibes and better music. Let us promote your goods and services for you. Advertise with us. For more information, call our office at 876-276-8935. That's 276-8935.
Oh my!
Welcome back.
Welcome back
Morning
indeed.
Connection.
Free flowing Thursdays, flowing very freely this morning, because we had an amazing experience in the last couple of days, and I wanted to share it. I mean, it is a testimony to the character of people, the salt of the earth people.
Come on.
Who
talk up the things then.
Yes,
Salt and light.
Salt and light.
Yes.
Yeah. And it is also a testimony about the technology.
Okay.
And the way technology works today. But before we went off, I was just explaining to you that Mr. Kemlani said a pole broke and crashed into the building, sparking the fire. So on the issue of liability, usually liability is limited to some proportion of the loss that you suffer. It's not usually the case that public utilities are left to be liable for the entirety of your loss. If not, nobody would want to be a public utility.
Supplier.
Yes, can you imagine? If you know that every customer who takes service from you, if there's an electrical fire, you might be liable for their whole house.
But was it an electrical fire? So,
well, Mr. Kemlani is saying, so we're going to watch that one. The reason I mention it in tandem with the other things we see coming up, you know, street light not working and man gets shot. JPS. Minister's press release. And now Mr. Kemlani and his whole building there. We just have to watch very carefully and just see how things develop and make sure that there is righteousness and justice at play. Even for companies that we have to hold them accountable and keep their feet in the fire. We still don't want them to be savaged by unjust princes and government officials as they pursue their personal agenda. So now, on a lighter note, the testimony. Right. So, producer uses a set of AirPods. These are the wireless buds that just sit in your ear and can be very vulnerable in terms of they can fall and you lose them and so on and so forth. We were on the street the other day and on my phone popped up a message. It said, not your AirPods, or there's a way that it just picks up any. Yeah, because I also have AirPods. So I saw the message. I looked around. I didn't see Lowell doing anything with his AirPods. In fact, he wasn't using them at all. So I said, okay, the technology is such these days that somebody else with similar, manufactured or make product could trigger a response on my device. So I dismiss it. Kept going. The following morning, as we were getting ready to come to the studio, Lowell was reaching for his AirPods, and when he located it, one was missing from the case. It's up here. So we realized that, it had fallen somewhere. Rushing out in the morning, he didn't even try to use the Find My Device tracker to locate it.
Okay.
When we got home in the evening now, this is probably around 4 o'clock. Around 4. Maybe, somewhere between 2 and 4. He sat down and I see him searching for it. And then he said to me, Minett, look, there's my earpod. It shows that one is at our home and one is somewhere on Old Hope Road. And he kept watching it. And maybe about 5 minutes later, he said, you know what, let's go for it. We got to the location. It was a gas station. And I'm going to call the name of the gas station because it was just such a phenomenal experience. It was a Total gas station on Old Hope Road. Went in, and we are spirit-led people. My spirit take a man in the corner, and I say, I'm going to talk to him. I asked him, I ask for a manager. May I try to figure out how do you... Because we figured out now, all the time, Lowell is checking. It is showing that the thing is there, that it's still there. So... Anyway, Lowell came in and he explained, he had lost his thing. And the very man I had asked said, I heard so-and-so say he find the secret. Yeah, he said, I hear so-and-so say him find one of them little thing there. I wonder. And the supervisor called the young man and the young man said, the supervisor thought we had lost it at the station. So he started on that path. Anyway, the young man said, no, I found one of those at Price Mart. And that young man, wherever he was, he came back to the station. He brought the earbud. He showed us that he had been there with his boss and him sitting by the tire of the car. So the first thing is, wherever it fell, it could have been crushed. It wasn't.
Yes.
And he took it up and he cleaned it off and he recognized what it was, and it died. Because he knew that you can't do anything with one of them, and it had no power source, so it couldn't be recharged. But that morning, his cousin gave him one to sell. And he took out one of the buds and placed Lowell's, lost earbud in it and charged it. He started to charge it the morning, but it wasn't fully charged and it died again. And when he got home, he said, let me charge it again. And so he started to charge it at home. It transpired, when you look at the technology, that when he opened it at the Total station, it gave off a signal and showed that that was its location.
Okay.
And that remained the last recorded location on the software until Lowell got there. Because it actually died, and when he went home, he charged it again. So if we had looked at it at different time, it would have shown us his home location. But for some reason which we are attributing to divine protection of the little piece of technology. Wake up, Pastor. I'm just teasing you. Yeah, so we are celebrating it. One, the technology, and two, the honesty of this young man.
The young man
who found it. And even the way things happened, that somebody actually gave him a charge case, so he was able to charge it for long enough for it to give off a signal.
At the Total. So
at the Total, and we went there. So when we got there, and said it's here, it wasn't there because he had left with it.
Okay.
But because it was dead, it didn't give off another signal.
But then because the person heard him say him find the secret thing.
Yes. Yeah, brought it back. So, we rewarded him as best we could.
Yeah.
But you know what? Isn't it a great thing because those things cost 200 and something. In fact, the one he was selling him said they told him not to take less than $20,000 or $25,000 for it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Expensive.
Yeah. So when you lose one, the person who find it have no use for it.
Okay.
And you have lost half of the product.
Also, it can't work as a half.
Yeah, it can work as half. But only one ear. But me know, to some people who don't hear at all, one ear is good enough.
But I want to share a quick
testimony.
Quick testimony with you. For about 2-3 months now, I have a black shoe, and I said, no, it's hurting my foot. Yeah, and I'm saying I need a new pair of shoes.
Hey, they're cute.
Yes. And I just said, Father, well, with all of the things that are happening, I can't afford a shoe right now. But anyway, going back to school, I focus on that. But anyway, about 2-3 weeks ago, I get a phone call, and somebody says, I'm here in the States, now with my husband. And him say, his husband and wife walking together, and he says to her, that shoes there
look like Percy.
Look like Pastor Percy.
Oh my, I don't know. Well, the shoes are darn cute.
And he calls me.
I'm seeing them.
He calls me and says, "Well, Percy, what shoe size you wear?" I say 11. Say, all right. When the wife come back, may I bring her shoes for you?
Let me tell you, man, the shoes sharp.
And
man.
And I made a specific request to say it has to be black.
They're Clarks.
Is that Clark?
Yeah. Puppies. Even me might take a pair.
Yeah, and I'm going to myself and I'm saying, Father.
Wow. Too good.
No, man, the simple things that he does in terms of just responding. Me not tell nobody, I told nobody. I just said to the rest of the family that they need our shoes. But we have to think about
priorities, right.
And it just come. So.
Well, those two testimonies, yours and Lowell's, just are great encouragement for me. have a list of things that are on his desk. I think I look at it all around me. I think I'm next in this list. I am next.
You're
Eden
next.
has started off in. Let me tell you, this university thing is.
Testimony.
Yeah, no, it's just that she's been at school and it is pulling from her. Yeah,
you can't smile,
Eden has started back. Lowell find his AirPods. You get Clark's, and you're noticing it kind of going up the line. So I'm next. I am, and you two are next in the list of
next
God.
in line for a blessing.
Next for a blessing.
There's
All
a
right.
song that goes that way. So I'm grateful. I tell people in the small things that God reflects His word that says every hair on your head is
He knows it.
He knows it.
Yeah.
And it's numbered. So don't give hope as you go into the weekend as we're
wrapping up
this year. Just remember, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, and more importantly, He has said He's never gonna leave you. He's never gonna forsake you. He's Jehovah Jireh. He's a God who looks out for you, who makes provision for you. Do not be overcome by the evil in the world, but overcome evil with the good that God gives to you as He empowers you today. Bless you. Walk good and no bucket all.
Absolutely, yes. And thank you to those who have been with us on air and online. Thank you very much for your patience with us as Percy and I enjoyed the Thursday outdoors at the Ligani Club. Thank you to the Ligani Club, to the producer, and to Miss Eden for keeping us company. Of course, Miss Winsome, enjoy the rest of your birthday month.
Yes.
She goes on vacation, so we won't see her for a while. And, to the JPS team, hang in there. It's your turn now to face the dragon. But I suspect that they will survive one way or another.
With you.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Black woman turn dark, something really wrong. Negativity, you push down, you're really strong. It's like black woman no love themselves no more. She says she don't mind being called out. No, black woman, what up you went, black woman? Are you on the mother on the earth, black woman? Yeah, I'll send you out, black woman. Yes, black woman, you worth more. Them only want you wine and catch up and broke and buckle. Back it up and chop broad out like rose.